Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time for the best damn comic book, a YouTube and podcast related show that you're ever going to find right here on Thinking Critical YouTube on Saturday mornings. The Comics Aficionados. We do have a wonderful panel. We've got a lot of some controversies within the industry, and we've got a wonderful guest with us today. We've got a special guest, legendary Batman writer Chuck Dixon. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back, Wes.
Well, I'm glad that you decided to come back. Everybody really enjoyed the interview. I definitely want to hear some of your thoughts on the current comic book industry.
Okay, you'll get them.
Oh, we're getting them. We're getting Chuck Unfiltered. That's what we want.
Welcome back to the clown show, Chuck.
Also with us, we do have from Berkeley, California, the man behind Fantastic Comics, Yul Carter. How you doing, Yul? You going heel on us?
No, not today. There's not enough time for that. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it. And that was before Chuck's announced, or you announced Chuck being on. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. Well, who else we got? We got Josh McDonald, contributor to BatmanNews.com and the man behind PopByCulture.com. How you doing, Josh?
How am I doing? I'm spending Saturday morning with freaking Chuck Dixon, man. That's how I'm doing. I'm excited. You low-key, like Wes mentioned a week and a half ago, we might have Chuck on one of the Saturday streams, and I was like, oh, beep yeah. And then I was like looking at my schedule, and there's 2 Saturdays that I cannot be here coming up soon. I was like, if it's one of these days, I'm burning my business down. I'm just like, screw it. I'm good. Thank you. Good morning, guys.
Thankfully, we're good to go, because last time we tried to record, Josh, the internets did not work in our favors.
Look, I spent most of my Friday praying to baby Jesus. Just please let even if it's just for like an hour and a half, please let my internet work. So we're here.
It appears that it has happened. Obviously, we do have Fatal J is a panel member today, but he is the Fatal Diva for a reason. He's going to show up fashionably late. So last but not least, so far we've got Doc, the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado. How you doing, Doc?
I am spectacular, and hey, it's great to be here. Yay, Saturday morning cartoons.
You know what's crazy, Josh? So I can't get HBO Max because I'm in the Philippines.
Right.
They have a smaller version called HBO Go, which before I could not get to because you had to be in Manila and have that provider of that cable company in order to get it. Turns out now you can go on to the Google Play Store, download the HBO Go app, and subscribe now. So I subscribe, and I'm going to be like, hey, I've got Batman the Animated Series.
Yes!
You guys are going to leave me alone, right?
It's about damn time.
Guess what? It's not on the list of available DC cartoons.
Animated?
Batman the Animated Series.
It's not new.
I got Green Lantern the Animated Series. I've got Justice League Infinity. I got all kinds of stuff, but I do not have Batman the Animated Series. But I do have Mask of the Phantasm, which I've already seen. So that was a disappointment. Hopefully, it shows up soon.
Look,
but I thought I had her there for a minute.
I'm just gonna send you a Christmas package. I've got the full details now. Like the DVD's fine. I'll get those. I know you mentioned DVD/Blu-ray player. We'll get you set up with that too. It's gonna be a good Christmas in the West household.
Well, we would definitely appreciate. We've got a few super chats we'll hit before we get to this first topic. We've got MVP Maxfield Vaughn Priestley. If you have not checked out this guy's channel, I think I was on there yesterday. We recorded a few days ago. A real good guy. He is well, there are no former Marines, but he is a Marine who's no longer in the Corps. And he says, "Hail Chuck, West panel, listening at the gym." Well, we hope you're getting your pump on, and thank you very much. And we should have a very good show today. We've also got, I think it's Callum Lyle next, is it? Yes, it is Callum Lyle. BIL's next book will be called My Gender Academia.
Yeah.
There's a chance that could happen. We got Federico de la Casa. Hi, guys. Needed to give my best to Chuck Dixon. Started to read his work since Mark Spector Moon Knight, Robin, and his 2 underrated Green Arrow run.
Thank you.
Chuck Dixon, you're a card-carrying conservative. You can't write Green Arrow.
Well, that's the thing is conservatives understand liberals better than liberals understand conservatives. So yes, I
maybe
can write Green Arrow.
Cal also says, watch Batman Heart of Ice. Not sure if that one's on that. There are several Batman animated films on my HBO Go, so I'll definitely check it out. We got Roddy Board Comics, Kamusta, West End Aficionados. Good evening. Very excited for the discussion tonight. My favorite writer, Chuck Dixon, is here. Salamat. Well, salamat to you, Roddy Board Comics. And thank you very much for the 125 pesos, Filipino. Nice to see we've got some Filipinos in the audience. And Retro Man, before you start, what did you think of Batman Earth 1? I haven't read your opinion on it. I've read a little bit of I think I read the first volume. Obviously, Josh, you're the big Batman guy. What did you think of Earth 1? I thought it was solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid book. I
like
thought
the
it was
Green Lantern one better.
Yeah, agreed. The Green Lantern Earth one's probably one of the best ones that's out there. The Batman Earth 1 books, they're fine. They try to lean into that kind of more present day gritty type thing going on. It was fine. I have my opinions on about how dark and how realistic we make things and that sort of aspect, but it's an okay story. It doesn't delve into the characters as much as I would like, and I'm a character person, but yeah, it's a solid book. So if you haven't read it, it's at least worth checking out. Great art, like incredible art. Pretty good.
So we got Blurpy 24. Doc is right.
Well, welcome to the Doc is Right show.
Jesus crap already. And Lane Kramer is here. He says, to Mr. Dixon, were you the first Mary Sue writer when doing Nightwing? Was Jick just your cipher writing about secret double stick ninja skills?
I don't quite understand that question.
Was your when you wrote Nightwing, was he just an insert for yourself?
No, not at all. I am a klutz. I am not a natural athlete.
You're not an acrobat?
Yeah. No, I'm not a ninja. Wait. Of course, a ninja would say that, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds exactly like what a ninja would say.
You got to turn off the lights, too,
though. Thank you very much to Lane Kramer and everyone for supporting the channel. We've also, finally, the Fatal Divas in the house. How you doing, Fatal J?
I want to apologize to the great legendary Chuck Dixon is in the house. How you doing, sir? It's your fault that I was reading so many comic books as a child. It's your fault, sir.
Okay, I apologize to you and your parents.
You got him addicted. How you doing, Fatal J? It looks like you have is this a new room or did you move or something?
I moved. Internet is much faster now. You should be able to see me without pencils and all that type of stuff. So it's going to be a fun show.
Are you bringing the burrito to the party?
Not yet. The burritos are coming, though. And I'm going to bring burritos for everybody, even Mr. Chuck. Chuck, I got your burritos coming, breakfast burritos. You like breakfast burritos?
Sure thing. Why not?
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's so much context in this video, in this stream so far. The Chuck's probably like, I don't know what the hell these people are talking about.
This is like, yeah, exactly.
All of the in-jokes.
Yeah.
Get him out of the way now, though. I mean, it's a good time to do it.
Let's get on to the first topic. It's time to start talking about this stuff. We've got, is the comic industry held hostage? There was a video from Clownfish TV where he was talking about a couple of things out there. We had the Gabe Alte, former colorist at DC Comics, kind of saying that, comic books, specifically DC, are being held hostage kind of by political correctness and whatnot. We also have all the things going on over at Image Comics with the union, where the union in itself wants to have creative control over what they can actually produce, who's allowed to work at Image Comics and whatnot. We'll throw it over to Chuck first, since you're the special guest. What do you think about the comic book industry? Is it being held hostage by politics?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been taken over by woke culture, for whatever reason. At the bottom of it all, it's cynical, though. It's not political. There's always been cliques in comics, but now there's a more political bent to it. And mostly it's so that everybody's afraid of getting canceled. So they're going along with this agenda, and they're trying to use it, turn it into a marketing ploy. Like, let's make this character gay. Let's make this character transgender. And I don't know who they're appealing to because sales continue to fall. But comics are in a sad state right now. I should say the mainstream publishers are.
Mr. Chuck, I'm so happy you said that. I don't know, that made me feel squishy inside because I thought you was going to give us the opposite answer. But I mean, what is the focus, though? It's kind of like the comic industry is looking like Hollywood. They got these agendas placed in there. And like you said, what is the reason for this? Because nobody is buying this stuff. What is the reason?
Well,
we know.
I mean,
Go ahead.
it's like a devolution. I mean, when I started at comics, most of the people I worked with were into comics. They were all about comics. That's all they cared about, you know. And this is editorial, publishing wise, and they just wanted to make the best comics they could. Slowly, they got replaced by careerists, people that really weren't that interested in comics. They were more interested in making points at the editorial meeting than making readers happy. And from there, it was just 2 steps away from what we have now. Where
Mr. Dixon, do you think the Marvel movies, the popularity of the Marvel movies kind of brought in the normies and all these cosplayers and all this type of stuff, and it started taking a turn? What do you think?
It definitely brought in the tourists, you know, the creators who are from other media and are going to go back to that other media. They're not writing comics because they love comics or even know how to write comics. They're just there because it looks cool in their resume now. I mean, you know, back when we liked comics and nobody was going to the movies to see comic book characters, you know, we were the nerds, we were the outliers. But now comics are cool. The sad part of it is they left all of us behind. They left all of us comic nerd fans behind, and they left a whole lot of comic book creators behind because we're not going along with the agenda.
Well, we know what they're not held hostage to: money.
Yeah.
And sales. Because apparently we exist in a post-sales, post-money world.
Well, DC and Marvel comics don't have to worry about money so much because they're still seeing money from, you know, Legos and games and toys and pajamas and all the rest of it that their crap goes on. So licensing fees. But the dirty little secret is, I don't know about Marvel and Disney, but at Warner's and DC, Warner's forced DC into a new revenue agreement, where DC is not making anywhere near the kind of money they were making from all this stuff that they were 20 years ago. So I just think eventually both of these parent companies will phase out their comics divisions.
When you say not near as much money, are you talking about revenue, like residuals from the licensing itself?
Yeah, like, you know, I only know what happens at DC because, you know, I'm downstream. I'm down the royalty stream. And they send you the royalty statements, and they used to show you what they made and that what your part of it was. Now they just show you what your part of it is. You never know what they made. And just as an example, I made as much money off of Dark Knight Rises, because Bane was in it, as I did off of Batman and Robin.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, I mean, Graham Nolan said, if Paramount made Dark Knight Rises, we'd be multimillionaires today. But because DC renegotiated their royalty scheme, they renegotiated what net revenues meant. I know I'm getting into the math here, but basically they let Warner bully them into taking less of the pie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. So that hurts DC, but it hurts everyone else down the chain. It hurts every creator who ever did anything that they end up using as a cartoon or a game or a TV show or a movie. So
what you're talking is more them applying typical Hollywood accounting skills to make things that are profitable not profitable, just so they can avoid paying the kind of, you know, royalties that otherwise they would have.
Yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers will explain to you, and this has been explained to me with a straight face, that none of the Harry Potter movies ever made any money. So this is the kind of people we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think they did the same thing for Men in Black too. I'm pretty sure that still hasn't made money.
No, they don't make any money. They make these movies out of the goodness of their heart from their enormous houses in Malibu.
Cal Mile chimes in. He says, they've also been blocking people for criticism. I got blocked by VIL and others, including Daniel Cherry, just for criticizing their decision-making. And recently DC on Instagram blocked me. What do you think about that, Chuck? Do you think it's a good policy to just be blocking, you know, potential customers?
No, because you got to listen. The comics have always responded to their audience. You have to listen to your audience, and you have to give them what they want. You know, you have to exceed their expectations, but you have to give them what they want. And they'll tell you by what they buy and what they don't buy, what they want. and it's redundant publishing. It's been at the core of comics forever. You know, if horror comics are selling, you do more horror comics. You know, if this character's popular, you do more comics with that character. But now they don't seem to give a damn. You know,
the letters pages, they were more accessible with letters pages than they are with social media. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we took criticism on letters pages and dealt with it. You know, because it was entertaining. The letters page was there to entertain. So we dealt with controversy. And, you know, when the message boards and all that stuff started up in the commentary, I mean, it was a wide open. But, you know what's going on with social media and all the rest of it. They're clamping down. You can only have one idea. It's a hive mind.
Yep.
We've also got Federico De La Casa. Thank you so much to everyone supporting the channel. In Japan, Mangaka hopes that their fans will like the work. So in Europe and in South America. In the U.S., they want fans to be pissed off.
I blame I can't remember if it was Dan Didio or Tom Brevoort for that. They all decided that they wanted to be
that was Brevoort that said the comics fans don't even know what they want. We're here to decide what they want for them.
Yeah, and a pissed off fan is an engaged fan. Like, go fuck yourself, dude.
Tom Brevoort also said Chuck Dixon isn't blacklisted. He just can't work here anymore.
That sounds about like that dumbass's something that would come out of that dumbass's mouth.
We've got Sigma Comics, and I've got an interview with H.H. German from Sigma Comics tomorrow on the channel. I think you guys are going to like that one. And they say comics was a subculture. Subculture is cool. When the core bought the big two, the core bought pop culture, and then it isn't cool. There's definitely a point about that one, Josh. Once you got these billion-dollar corporations buying in on these things, and they kind of take the uniqueness out, and anything that makes the character like stand out, everything becomes far less cool moving forward.
I mean, yeah, I think it's 50-50. I mean, if you're going to have a corporation come buy you out, you're going to become more corporate. You're going to get more structure in there, and you're going to lose a little bit of creative freedom. You know, I always think back to hearing about, you know, Marvel and the bullpen in like the 60s and 70s, and people just throwing out ideas, and it was almost like a party of creativity. Like you're going to lose that, but I also think that's a sign of the times. At the same time, we've still gotten some really good projects from the big two since the corporations have bought them out. So I think it's a matter of just sourcing the right talent and you know, having staff to support it. We talk about how many books have suffered because of the lack of editors right now. You know, they can't do their job. They're playing, you know, project manager, just making sure you get stuff in on time, not controlling the story. Even in your interview with Chuck, y'all talked about how you had the Batman guidebook. This is something we referred to when we launched Batman News and we had our first review team. We made a review guidebook in honor of that, just to kind of represent, like, you know, this is our basis of what Batman is and these supporting characters. This is how we're going to speak to them, and this is how we're going to write our reviews around them. But you kind of lose. It's weird that you got more structure and then lost structure as well. But it just depends. I think right now it's the big thing with publishers is how cheap can we make something, and that's never going to lead to success.
Absolutely. We also got Kenneth Dowling. Welcome to the party, sir. Hello, guys. Hope you all are doing great. Mr. Chuck Dixon, it is an honor to have you on the channel. I love your interview with Wes. You are a legend in the comic industry and are truly missed.
Hey, I'm still here.
He's still here. You're making comic books, right?
I'm still making comics.
I think he means that we really miss you making them on the big properties. It sucks.
The problem is when you're not at DC and Marvel, people are like, well, where did he go? I never stopped working. I never stopped doing comics. So.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And we've also got Antoine Dennison. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If Marvel and DC phase out comics, then those licenses will be available for smaller publishers who only profit from sales and not licensing, right?
Yeah, that's the way it would work. I mean, look at what with IDW. You know, they just get a piece of the sales.
Is there any character you could?
I never understood how a business like that could stay keep going for long. I never understood how that works.
Neither does the industry, because they keep having to get money from other people.
G.I. Joe has a fan base. There's a minimum amount of people that are going to buy your comic just because it's G.I. Joe. If you write a really good one, you'll bring in new fans, and if you do something good, you can make it. You know, as long as you do a good negotiation on the price, you can be profitable. It just, you have to be good. Obviously, Chuck knows more about this. I think you've done a lot of license work in the past.
Yeah, well, the thing with G.I. Joe is Hasbro buys a lot of those comics.
What?
Oh, they like give them out.
Yeah.
I believe
Oh,
it.
really?
He just blew my mind. Just that 3 seconds of him talking.
So
Well, we know that $1 million selling Star Wars comic, like the biggest purchaser was Disney to put them in loot crates.
right.
Like it was like 600,000 copies of that were specifically to be sent out in loot crates and whatnot. So it makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's
Mind blown.
so it's kind of like the way that the actual publishing industry often will just buy up their own books.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a company buying its own stock.
Mm.
All
All
Man,
right.
this is like a Ponzi scheme or something with comics. What's
Yes.
going on here?
Well, it kind of restores your faith because it explains why they keep doing these crappy G.I. Joe comics. Like, who's buying
Ah,
it? It's despairing to think there's an actual audience for that nonsense.
yeah.
But there isn't.
Wow.
Callum Lyle says, I've lost all respect for Jim Lee. Are you going to let him talk like that, Doc? Isn't Jim Lee your spirit animal?
You know what? I think he used to be when he was still a little bit punk rock, and when he would
Jim
he
Lee
still had
punk
Wildstorm.
rock.
I mean, yeah,
Dude, that's
a guy-
easy. He's an easy listening all the way.
Yeah,
okay?
you got a good point. I mean, there's a dude that went to med school and then became a comic book artist.
I know exactly what he listens to in his car.
Yeah. You
Nickelback,
find,
isn't it?
yeah, it's
I
Nickelback.
don't even think it's that hard.
No, it's probably Coldplay. But
Christian
yeah,
rock
you know
or
what?
something, maybe.
I've lost a lot of respect for the dude over. I mean, I get it, like that's part of his gig, and he's probably making a shit ton of money off of his Warner Brothers stock that he's got. So, I mean, whatever is gonna make him money. But at the same time, you know, his let's just say his image roots are long gone. Him being one of the Image 7, that's nothing like the Jim Lee you have now.
Yeah, he's not counterculture anymore. He's
Nope.
he's part of the establishment. We've got Kenneth Dowling says, like Doc said,
Damn right.
I miss
Don't
you
die.
being Chuck Dixon on the big stage. If I may call you Chuck, I'll check out your indie work.
Please
Wes,
do.
what you been smoking, man? You
Well,
all right?
I've explained this before you came onto the channel since you decided to show up late. We had a child that showed up at the house. There was a birthday party, and he has gotten the family a little bit sick. I'm doing okay, but I had one cough sneak out there.
I understand. Mr. Chuck Dixon, I want to introduce you to Kenneth Darling. Have you ever heard of Pablo Escobar?
Yeah.
Well, meet Kenneth Darling.
Okay.
You'll see a bunch of super chats in the future by him. Thank you,
But-
Kenneth, for all you do.
We definitely
What-
appreciate the supporters of the channel.
What is
Yes, sir.
Chuck? What are your indie books that you're doing right now?
Well, right now, most of the stuff I'm doing is digital. I got a new project with Richard Myers that'll be a print thing, but a lot of the work I'm doing now is for ArcTunes at archaven.com. I'm doing about 6 different like weekly series there.
Wow.
It's a free digital service. It's high res. You can read them on your big screen in your living room. The resolution's so clear. So
Well, that's
Mr.
actually
Chuck-
kind of cool.
I'm doing a bunch like I got an espionage thing. I got a superhero parody, some straight up superhero stuff, a science fiction series, a whole bunch of stuff going on there.
Mr. Chuck, is that the future? Is that the new thing now? What you
I think it's part of the future. I think as we move into the future, we realize there's not one answer to everything. There's 10
Right.
answers. It's like it's not going to be one thing. It's going to be everything. So
You know-
I like print comics, but digital comics, we reach a global audience easier.
Chuck, that
that's-
does actually bring up a good question, though. Oh, when you do stuff like that, now this is just more out of curiosity. Do you guys format the product to actually fit the screen kind of that you expect people to be viewing on? Like, if you're going to watch it on your living room on the big screen, is it the aspect ratio completely like turned on its side?
No, you just get black bars.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's a little bit of both. Two of the series that I'm doing are formatted straight for ArcTunes, so they're formatted. It's pretty much like reading storyboards. But then we've got 2 artists who just can't figure out how to do that, and so I'm literally writing pages for them, and then we reformat the pages when they're done drawing them. So it's all up to the artist. And we have a new feature where the artist can go in and directly tweak the material that they see on the screen, so they can manipulate it themselves after it's appeared. But there's a lot of different ways of doing this. But yeah, 2 of the series, My Sister Suprema and Something Big, are both written strictly for this format.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a different way of writing. It's I got to get my head in a whole different place, but I'm freed from things like the page turn panel and stuff like that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, because it's a vertical scrolling story.
Yeah. And some of the guys played with it. Like I did one called Go Monster Go, and we had a car chase, and the artist Tim Lottie, he drew the car chase so you could follow it as you scrolled down the screen. It was really cool.
Oh, that's
really
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of like what was the original Grand Theft Auto where it was top view? Yeah.
Oh,
that's kind of cool.
yeah.
We've also got BM supported the channel. Saw Chuck on Roberts and Nerdette's channel, and now here. Not that I'm complaining. Always great to hear him. Absolutely. Chuck is making the rounds, getting the word out about the Arc Tunes and all the great projects he's working on. And the man just loves comic books. That's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like talking comics.
Absolutely. We've got Roddy Boy Comics, Dixon and Grummet's Robin runs are the best.
Grummet's an awesome artist. Great guy.
Okay, Lade Kramer says Kenneth Dowling is secretly Bruce Wayne from Earth. Dollar bills, y'all.
Yep.
Max Santiago, Jim Lee is a Michael Bolton, Kenny G man.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
exactly
goodness.
right.
Elevator music.
Play that sweet sax music.
Nightmare X123. The thing that draws Westerners to comics is the very thing that turns off non-Westerners. Things like multiple interpretations and runs. That's definitely one of the things that we're seeing the power of manga, Chuck, is that you can start at the beginning and there's an end point and it's pretty much a through line. If you start at the beginning of Batman and you want to get to the end, there's a lot of detours.
Yeah. It's definitely the manga's it's a more pure form. European comics the same. I mean, you don't see a lot of variations. You know, they don't have an adult version of Asterisk. You know.
Yeah, or events that are happening that don't actually happen. There's actually a video from Perch and I that'll be out on Monday talking about that very thing. So that's definitely one of the unique parts of the American comic industry. We've also got MG supporting the channel from Canada. Chuck, thanks for creating Bane. He's in my top 3 favorite characters with Batman and Spawn. Would love to see you write something in the Spawnverse. Hope to see you back on the channel again.
Well, thank you.
There you go. Absolutely. If Chuck will have us, we will definitely be having hosting Chuck once again on the channel for another interview, and hopefully back here on the channel or on the panel.
Hey, Chuck, I do have a question. Oh, sorry, do you mind if I jump in real quick, Wes?
Absolutely, go for it.
I do have a question for you, Chuck, because you're known for creating, well-known characters, and lately we've seen a lot of creators kind of just complaining about the use of their characters and how they change and alter. Do you have any opinions on how your character's been done, or do you expect it?
Yeah, you kind of, it's kind of like when you deal with Hollywood. You got to turn your heart to stone early on because they're going to do what they're going to do. So yeah, I have no control over it. That's why people say, "Do you still follow current comics?" And it's like, no, it's like spying on your kids when they go off with their new dad.
Oh, that's terrible.
Shit.
That's a great analogy.
That is a
Wait,
great
you don't
analogy.
But wait, you don't get visitation or anything like that then?
No. And so I'll have fans go, what do you think of this? Bane has a daughter. Tim Drake is a bisexual. I was like, okay, well, what can I do?
So you're saying like Bane moved out of state is what you're saying with his parents?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
He lost custody.
Exactly. I'm not allowed.
He checks it on the Facebook profile.
And they
that's
moved
all
to
he
another
gets.
country. They moved to the
Yeah.
Philippines.
So not even weekends. So
Yeah. Nightmare X123 says, do you think there is a way to fix that, or do you think comics are stuck to Western supporters only? I personally think there is a way to fix it. And like I said, Perch and I go over for like 15 minutes on what we would do to it. What do you think, Chuck? Is there a way to fix that uniqueness that would transfer and hopefully penetrate other markets with Western comics better?
Yeah, I don't see it. I really don't see how that's going to happen. I mean, they've sort of evolved in two different directions, and two different audiences. I mean, there's some degree of crossover, but yeah, I don't see how doing like a Western version of an Asian character, a manga character, that doesn't work. And I've never seen a successful translation the other way. Those Japanese Spider-Man mangas. It's like, I mean, I don't even know if they were successful.
Well, we know the Samurai Deadpool was very successful.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, there you go.
In fact, Marvel just had to buy the rights back from the company that they paid to make it.
Yeah, wow. That's like some meta shit right there. Like, you license it to somebody else, and then you got to license it back and translate it back to have it released in the States and actually make money. Holy shit. How sideways is your company right now?
I think manga is the key though, because when sales keep increasing, it's gonna make the Westerners think, okay, we got to get it together. What you guys think?
Yeah, I think that they're gonna have to rise to the occasion, or they're gonna fall by the wayside. We've got Carol Lyle says, Chuck, what's your opinion on Vane's voice in Harley Quinn show?
Who does the voice? I don't know. I don't know that one.
You gonna watch it?
No.
All right, John. Who is it?
So I don't know who it is, but they kind of take the Bane route and then comedy it up a little bit. I mean, that whole show is a comedy.
Yeah, they give him like a butler Englishman voice.
But they still have the like Tom Hardy kind of muffled a little bit type thing going on.
Yeah.
It's
real, mate.
Yeah, like that.
He doesn't sound South American?
No. This whole show is honestly nothing but a parody, but
it's funny. It's a good show, though.
I agree. It's one of those things that I'm not the biggest Harley Quinn fan. Like, she's oversaturated, and people don't know what to do with her. Watching that show, I've enjoyed the show a lot because it's just good, funny writing. It's vulgar. It's incredibly vulgar, which not for kids. But I laughed at it way more than I thought I would.
Mr. Dixon, real quick, when you first seen Christopher Nolan's, what's that, Dark Knight Rises, the last one?
Yeah.
What was your thoughts when watching that movie?
Well, I like the fact that they made him a household name. Everybody knows Bane is now. That's cool. I like that they showed him as intelligent, not just a henchman or a brute.
Yes, sir.
But so bad. And was that Batman and Robin, or was it?
Yeah, Batman and Robin. Yeah,
was so bad.
But for me, the Nolan movies are mostly a mess. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of any of his movies.
Okay.
I
was expecting a totally different.
They're all flash. They all seem smarter than they are. So you really look at them and you realize it's just my favorite, least favorite scene in all of them is in Dark Knight Rises, when that kid who turns out to be Robin.
Oh, that was stupid. That was
Robin.
He's lowering Chinese takeout into the sewer for the presumably 5,000 Gotham City cops who are trapped down there, and he's like lowering a dinner for two. We got
Kung Pao chicken tonight, fellas.
Right, and then before he puts the sewer grate back in place, he says, "I'll be back with more."
I never thought about that.
I haven't either.
Like, there were some spring rolls I forgot.
The thing with Nolan movies that I found is he's basically takes a very relatively interesting kind of like psychology, physics, or philosophy 101 question, like a rhetorical question, and then just makes a movie out of it.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Except it's from the perspective of like a philosophy major after his first beer.
Yes.
It's like, no, you didn't really think this through. And then when you read about his filming process, he just films and films and films and films, and then edits, comes up with like a 5-hour version. The studio goes, this is insane. And then they try to find a story in what he filmed. And they just, it's all done in the editing room. It's like, it's not a way to make a movie. It's like you're guessing as you go along. That's why there's no substance under it. I mean, when people rage about Memento, and I'm like, I've seen this done before and much better. And the problem with Memento was if you had told the story beginning to end laterally or in chronological order, it wouldn't have been a good story.
Well,
make it more interesting to see it backwards.
Yeah, he basically is a scrapbooker making movies.
That's a great analogy.
Yep. And we've got Antoine Dennison says, Chuck, are you available to be hired? I have money.
Well, to write comics, yes.
Imagine what you're talking about.
We don't know why he wants to hire you.
Very smart man.
He's going to want you to build a
Oh,
house. I'm not sure.
That man is not talking about writing. He's
Excuse
talking
me, I
about
need you to Chuck, are you available to refinish my bathroom?
Yeah, you wouldn't like the result of that, trust me.
There's a link to Chuck's website in the video description. I imagine there will be a way to contact him.
Sure.
But I think Chuck is a professional writer. If you need to hire somebody to write.
Yeah, and if it's interesting work and I think I can contribute, I mean, I don't say yes to everything because a lot of things I'm like, I wouldn't be good at that.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's good, maybe Chuck will take a gator. We've got Chris from Comics Exposed. Good to see Chuck here. Still love Chuck's Punisher and Nightwing work. That's just off the top of my head. There's more Chuck work that I love. Absolutely. There's so much good stuff out there. The Nightwing stuff is really,
You know,
is it the best, Josh? Is it the best?
I would say yes. Chuck, I don't know if Wes and I often talk about how Nightwing is our favorite character and just the Dick Grayson and who he is. And so much of who he is really got shaped, I think, by you in a lot of ways, because we really got to just see him on his own as an individual. And that credence, I think, all goes to you and laying that foundation. And for the most part, other writers have respected that and stayed true to it. There's been some blips recently, but I love it.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You want to tell what's just happened recently to Nightwing?
Oh God!
What happened? Are we talking Rick Grayson?
When Alfred,
Are we talking
it turns
about
out Alfred's a billionaire and he dies
Oh.
because Bane kills him.
Yeah.
And he leaves all of his money to Dick.
So Dick is now
a billionaire.
Yeah.
And he says, billionaires are evil. I don't want this money. And he holds a press conference and says he's going to use his money to fix everything wrong with Bloodhaven.
Wow.
But he gives it all
So he's
away
a
at
commie.
once. He gives it all away at once. Like, here, we're fixing everything, and then is now broke again.
Fix it all.
So they hired like 1 million social workers.
And have them for a month, and then they're done.
Yes.
No more good for the city after that. I say this
You
with
think if anybody would know the value of a billionaire, it would be Dick Grayson. He was raised by one.
Yeah.
Apparently by two of them.
I'm just stunned at the stupidity.
yes,
Well,
yes.
Thank you.
I was
Everyone
gonna
said I
say-
was a
how
dickhead.
money works.
Like,
I mean
Wes,
this in the
you're an
nicest way
a-hole.
possible.
You just don't like Tom Taylor. It's like, I just don't like bad writing.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
I mean this in the nicest way possible, but there's a lot of intelligence that is lacking from comic book writers these days. Just fundamental of how things work is just out the door.
Well, Tom Taylor's a commie, and commies don't understand how money works. So,
He's Australian too, so that might be what it is.
okay,
We've
so
got
the only thing he knows what to
Dark
do.
Admiral March Hare coming in with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I enjoyed Mr. Dixon's work at CrossGen, Archer's Agents, El Cazador, and his Joe run with IDW. I've only recently started reading his DC work, but I'm enjoying it. I've read Bane, Conquest, and Birds of Prey.
Oh,
thank you so much.
You haven't even got to the really, really good stuff.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
Al Cazador in the back. That's a great comic. A great comic.
Yeah.
like I'll just jump in here. If it's Batman stuff, Robin, Nightwing, and then Chuck, you had your hands in so much of just the Batman stuff, just the major stories that kind of shaped the 90s. You know, I so much of what we turn to now and say, like, these were great stories. And the writers keep trying to either recreate or at least touch back to give their stories some credibility. Like, I can't imagine what Batman would be without the work that y'all did throughout the 90s. So,
Thank you. Thank you. I mean,
Absolutely.
you had a great crew. I mean, you had Denny,
Mm.
running the show. He had terrific assistant editors, which is rare. They were all great. And then everybody, all the creatives on it, we were totally into it.
Mhm.
So,
Chuck.
that's the secret.
Chuck,
Yeah.
this is something completely, I mean, it's somewhat related, but interestingly enough, this actually completes a little bit of I guess an achievement for me, getting the chance to talk to you. And when I was young, like when I was like 12, Scott McDaniel actually sat me down and taught me how to draw a little bit. So
Wow, cool.
yeah, So now I've kind of got both halves of that team.
Very
There
cool.
you go.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Scott's an awesome dude, man. He is.
Yeah, he is. Actually, oddly
yeah.
enough, he's cousins with one of my friends too.
Oh, okay. One of the funniest guys I've ever met, and he's funny because he's so serious. He doesn't mean to be funny, but he always cracks me up because he's so earnest and so serious about the work. I couldn't believe it. So did you see his studio?
Yes, I did. This would have been almost 30 years ago now. So he was still on Daredevil at the time. So it was before you. So this would have been before his Nightwing era. So yeah, I did see his studio for about an hour. It was really nice.
I've been to the studio one time, and it didn't look like any other comic artist studio because it was so neat and clean. Yes. It looked like an architectural drawer's office, which, he was in engineering. So I couldn't believe how organized everything was. Because usually, if you see my office, it looks like a total train wreck. I mean, what you're seeing behind me is the neatest part of the office.
This for show only.
Yeah, for show
Definitely feeling very jealous of Dark Apple March Hare that's going to get into all this Chuck Dixon Batman work for the first time. That's going to be terrific. We got Kyle Mile. Marvel did a small crossover with Attack on Titan. Is that true, Yule? That happened?
Did it actually come out? I think it was Avengers versus Attack on Titan. I don't remember it actually coming out.
Well, are you talking Fatal J?
Yeah, he's not to me. I thought it was me.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was on mute. I muted myself when I was eating the cereal. I got caught up.
Well, that's a good move.
But hey,
you're embarrassing us in front of Chuck.
Man, look, Chuck, look, this is just me. I'm sorry.
That's all right, man.
I do this 24/7. I can't switch it off. It's just me. But
we're
hey,
in your house. We're in your house.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Attack on Titan. They did that. That's my favorite anime.
I remember it was supposed to happen. I just don't remember it happening, but it would have been years ago now. So,
okay.
Can't remember.
Kyle Miles says it happened. We got Kenneth Dowling. I love Bane. Also, and no one has written him better than you, Chuck. I am Bruce Wayne from the multiverse, soon to be seen in City of Bruce. Another inside joke. We got Nightmare X123. Modern comics look like old church pamphlets. That's not a compliment.
That's funny.
Not a compliment. Wolfsteed 3D, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Manga publishing is very cutthroat. If your story doesn't find its audience fast, it gets canceled in no time. If you fail fast.
That's
the thing with manga is they do so many, with the Shonen Jump app, you get pilots kind of thing. And if you build an audience, you get your ongoing. And if you don't, it's on to the next project.
Well here, if it fails, they blame the audience.
Yes,
you're a sexist. You're a racist. You're not smart enough to understand this comic book. No, your comic book is crap. I don't want to read it.
You had one chance to make an impression, and you didn't do the right job.
Exactly.
That's on the writer and the creators. Jack Nero 99. If Warner Brothers would give you control over DC, Chuck, what would you do, and how would you rule the DC universe? Well, that sounds like a whole video.
Yeah.
Well, first thing I'd do is I'd give Jerry Ordway a monthly. I'd say, what do you want to do? But yeah, beyond that, just try to bring some normalcy, some consistency, and also just hire interesting creative teams and let them run wild.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to, look over everybody's shoulder and micromanage the whole line.
That's what I'm told by a lot of the creators I talk to, is that a majority of the stories that we're reading are actually they're thought of by the editorial team and then pitched to the writer instead of the other way around. Exactly. So we're reading a bunch of green editors who have never been successful comic book writers, basically dictating the stories that were getting written by the writers themselves.
Well, also you're getting a 6th reboot by the guys that did the previous 5 reboots.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you didn't have a good idea the first time, what makes me think that the 10th time is going to be the charm?
It's all about timing, I guess. We got Mr. DC Comics asking you, Mr. Dixon, why is Warner Brothers so reluctant against Superman or making Man of Steel 2? Recently, all we're getting is evil Superman from Hollywood.
I don't, I can't figure out. If you ever spent like 5 minutes with a film producer, you'd understand, because they're idiots.
Yeah.
And I can say that without fear of offending any movie producers, because they'll all say, well, he's not talking about me.
Yes, I will echo that. I mean, look, I know producers that are really good, but there are plenty that I would say are idiots. I had plenty of people look at the first page of my script, close it, and say, nope, this isn't for us. I'm like, you didn't, but you have people to read this, just give it to them. At the same time, like I've heard the stupidest things come out of producers' mouths, and they're just looking at what can make money, not what the story is. That's all they care about, is how can I make money. So
I love the Kevin Smith story that he gives at that commencement speech, where he's talking about the producer when he was writing Superman. We got to have a big fucking spider. Like a spider. we don't want Superman flying. That's not cool. And he needs a cat. It's like, what? This isn't Superman anymore. You're just taking all the cliches that are in movies right now and putting them into mine.
Very much so.
I was adapting a screenplay into a graphic novel, because I do a lot of that, because they figure, well, let's produce a graphic novel and then we can show it to the morons and they'll understand
proof of concept.
Yeah, and so I was working on this one, and the movie never got made. It was a terrible story. But I said to the producer, I said, you know what would improve this movie if it had a downer ending? This movie calls for a downer ending. And he said, no movie with a downer ending ever made money. And I'm like, Casablanca, Chinatown, Easy
Empire
Rider,
Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back. I was just going to say that. I mean, come on. What are you, crazy?
A lot of good downer endings.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one I always hear is every action film has to end with a big explosion. Like, no, they don't.
That's crazy. We got Nightmare X123. Chuck, do you think you could salvage the new Warriors with as minimal tweaks as possible to make it a surprise hit and viable for sales? I imagine he's talking about Snowflake and Safe Space in the comic book that never got released.
Well, any more than Kibblesmith? I mean, come on.
Well,
I think it's on the first 6 pages having Dr. Doom killing them.
Yeah, just wipe them out. Creating a new Warriors team. The new Warriors.
Yeah, they fail to save Earth the next time Galactus shows up.
Yeah.
Tevye Smoka says, Chuck, do you have any opinions on Super Sons or their legacy?
Super Sons were a blast when I was a kid, reading World's Finest, because, the people doing World's Finest were completely out of ideas, so they came up with the Super Sons. But, I always look forward to those issues. What they're doing today is they're just using those characters to, push forward an agenda. So it's sad.
When it was Peter J. Tomasi, it was really solid. It was like the perfect introductory book in modern comics for new readers, and obviously they killed it.
Yeah. We had maybe 4 years worth of a handful of stories that Pete was able to do that were excellent.
Yeah, we had the original 2 years, and then you had the 2 miniseries that came after.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. 4 years worth of comics that came out total, where it was excellent. And I think people were kind of late to it at first, and then people realized how good it was. And the moment people were like, wow, this is great, that's when DC decided to just gut it and change what it is.
Yeah. Atomic Hound says, when did the big 2 universes actually end? My personal choices are Onslaught and Clone Stories for Marvel and the start of the New 52 for DC. Everything from that point is corporate filler. What's the end of Marvel Universe, Doc?
AVX.
Avengers versus X-Men.
Yep.
What do you think? What do you think, Josh? What's the actual end of the DC Comics universe?
What I consider canon, my head canon, is pretty much everything pre-Flashpoint. So I'm right there with them. There's some really good stuff that came out in the New 52, but I handpick it and shove it in. So
there you go. Everyone's got their head canon when the actual universe ended. Nobody thinks that they're reading real canon anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We've got Sigma Comics saying, shout out to Wes for this great panel. Publishers once spoke to readers in the back of comic books. Today, channels like this speak directly to readers and publishers alike. The latter needs to listen. I agree with that. Absolutely. What do you think, Yul? Do you think there's not enough listening going on as far as the publishers not only to the customers as far as the readers, but to the retailers themselves like you guys?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when they talk to like stores, it's just really just to let them know, the stores know that they exist. I guess. I don't know. I'm sure I don't really. The companies put out what they want, and it doesn't really affect me much other than the ordering, so I don't really have much to say as far as like what they want to hear, probably. The one thing that I think, as far as there was this line of demarcation from like comic company to reader and store, is especially DC. I mean, they're the main culprit. They took the letters pages out of comic books, and I really think that was something. It allowed. Usually, there was more than one voice. I remember all the letters. You're probably not going to print this because this is a negative point of view, but there's always that letter in there. And even, I mean, almost everything is skewed to "I love your book," but there's going to be those letters in there. And Chuck said it's because, they found it funny. Sometimes they were writing them themselves. I don't know if they were doing the glowing ones or not, but nonetheless, but it was something that let a person sitting at home knew there was another person like them reading a comic book, maybe having a point of view that they didn't think, or just bolstering your point of view about something. And I think that was really it was instrumental in the decline for DC as far as I'm concerned. And the New 52, they didn't take. I mean, I don't want to go to the computer to talk to people.
Yeah. I think that brings up a good point. Well, I think that brings up a good point. Whenever the letters pages ceased being letters and they started being emails, that's, I think, whenever it started going downhill with letters pages, because it's easy to blast off an email. It's a little bit more. It takes a little bit more effort to write a letter on a piece of paper, mail it off, stamp it, mail it off to a location. It's really easy to just shoot off an email. You're going to get inundated with them, and then you just stop really searching for them. Like you stop really giving a shit.
Cal Miles says, on what Jack Nero said, Tom King first. I'm not sure what that's a response to, but
I think that's firing them.
Hey, I'm not going to call for anyone's firing, but it wouldn't be the worst thing that could happen. We got Doc here. Can we fix DC by firing Dan Didio again? Dan Didio might be an improvement at this point. Are you at least
firing on Dan Didio?
I mean, they could just fire him again. I know he doesn't work there anymore, but just issue another press release.
Maybe like yearly, they can just come out and commemorate the day they fired Dan Didio.
I certainly do.
I do want to say, if you're watching the video and you're enjoying the conversation and you want to let other people know we're having a good time and support the channel, definitely give us a thumbs up. We're at about 105 thumbs up right now. We've had well over 250 live viewers for well over half an hour, creeping up to about 300. So if you're watching the channel, you enjoyed it, definitely give us a thumbs up and let everyone know that we're having a good time here. We've also got Jasper playing 9. Chuck, who was responsible for the concepts of these events? Nightfall, Contagion, Legacy, and No Man's Land. How much did you contribute?
Nightfall was all Denny. I think Contagion was thunk up by the assistant editors. Legacy, I don't know how Legacy began, but I ended up running it. I came up with the Wheel of Plagues and what Ra's al Ghul was up to. And No Man's Land was pretty much driven by Jordan Gorfinkel, one of the assistant editors who had been elevated to editor. So there you go.
There you know. And how much did you contribute? Were you just you're the idea guy?
No, we would have summits, and we'd all throw our ideas in. But the basic framework, Nightfall was pretty much laid out for us. We just had to figure out issue by issue how it was going to progress, which we did at these summits. Contagion and the others were a little more loosey-goosey. I remember explaining the Wheel of Plagues to a room full of people that looked like they couldn't care less. Because I think it was like the third day of a summit. And we were all tired. and I came up with this Wheel of Plagues idea. And
when you see the framework for Nightfall, do you know, holy crap, I'm going to get to write something that's going to be remembered for, decades?
It was just exciting from a writing standpoint because all the dramatic high points were there. All this awesome stuff was going to happen during it. And, just to be a part of it, which, I mean, when I showed up for it was my first summit, the first day, and all before lunchtime, Denny's describing this Nightfall event. And I'm wondering why I'm there, because at that point, all I had done was a couple of Robin miniseries. And then before we broke for lunch, Denny said, would you like to take over Detective? And I'm like, yeah, to be a part of this. Yeah. So then the rest is, then I went on to do Batman stuff for 10 years.
Very cool. We got Kenneth Dally. Chuck, I was introduced to you through your Nightwing run, but I 100% agree with Josh that you shaped the whole Bat family in the 90s and the double aughts. Just curious, who your favorite Marvel character is, and do you want to write them?
Punisher, hands down. Punisher is the only character I still think of stories for, even though I'm not paid to do that. I have this affinity for Frank Castle that I can't describe. So it's the easiest character for me to write of everything I've ever written.
So, like, deep down inside, you ready to go out there and start punishing people? Is that what it is?
I think we all are. Superheroes are a kid's wish fulfillment fantasy. The Punisher is an adult man's wish fulfillment fantasy. I want to be the baddest guy. I want to live like a slob. I want to have lots of guns.
John Wick would have been a great Punisher comic book.
Yeah. Seriously.
You killed my dog, or you killed my dog. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Taking everybody.
You killed my dog and you stole my car. I'm going to slaughter half of the planet.
For 4 movies.
Doc here says, smash that like button. I definitely echo that. Thank you so much to everyone that has given us a thumbs up and is enjoying the conversation. We've got Wolfstein 3D. If you want to fix DC and Marvel, you probably have to start with paying editors more so you get some quality experienced staff in key positions. You talked about that earlier, Chuck. They offered you the position as the Batman group editor, and you were like, I can't take the pay decrease.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's what they pay the editors. I mean, you got Marvel's in New York, DC's in LA. You can't afford a living wage for either one of those cities. I mean, when I started, I think editors were making about $30K a year, and a lot of them, their wives had a good job, or they were rooming together, or they were living in Connecticut or living in New Jersey, just because they couldn't afford to live in the city. And yet they did great work. I don't think it's the pay. It's the same with teachers. Let's pay teachers more. That doesn't guarantee you they're going to teach the kids anything. It just, throwing money at a problem is not the solution, despite what they bring some things.
The minimum requirements to be an editor is probably the issue, right?
Yeah, and the burning desire to want to edit comics. I mean, nobody I know got into comics to make a lot of money, because there wasn't any money when I got in. You could make a living wage if you worked your ass off, but it wasn't about the money, and yet all these people wanted to do it. There was stiff competition. Things didn't open up for me till the 80s when there was more comics published, because before that there was simply no room for anybody else. They were full up with editors and creators. And it wasn't the money, trust me, because there were no, royalties basically began as I was getting into the business, only to keep creators working, because it was so, creators could go anywhere they wanted in the 80s. And to keep a guy working for you, you had to offer him continuity contracts and royalties and all kinds of things. So that all began out of a need to keep the people there. But again, it was never about money. It still isn't.
We've got Fatal J chiming in. Not only is he a panel member, he's supporting the channel. Smash that like button. Chuck Dixon made my parents spend lots of money in comic shops. Thank you, sir. I don't know, Fatal J, if there's like one character that Chuck hasn't written, who would you want him to write?
Yeah. Come on, man. You can't be
Shinobi?
putting me on the spot like that, man.
Jeez. Zack Snyder's Superman? Chuck, do you like Zack Snyder's Superman? You
Okay,
like
now wait.
Oh, I
Chuck,
want to hear this fight.
Okay, hold on, wait, Mr. Chuck, before you say anything, just take your time and just tell me your thoughts.
I
Don't
really
crush
don't
me,
have
man.
any thoughts. I don't follow this stuff.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Because you
That's
know what?
good. Fatal J didn't have a heart attack. He's the world's biggest Zack Snyder.
You like one of my childhood greats, man. So you could have destroyed my soul just now if you would have said I hate Zack Snyder.
I have no opinion.
Okay,
There you
good.
go. That's
Good,
better
good.
than
That's better than I hate his guts. You know.
I have opinions.
Maybe I'm wrong, but with all the people leaving DC, couldn't Marvel poach a lot while a lot of the talent right now if they were smart? I don't know, Josh. I think a lot of people are leaving DC because the pay is just not good at either place, right?
I think it's not good at either. I think, if you listen to a lot of what we consider good writers who have left DC and Marvel, they both complain about editorial oversight and, editorial controlling too much. And then a lot of times too, if a story goes bad, the writers are stuck with the blame. It's just kind of like lose every way you look at it. So it's one of those situations that I imagine, like, you've got a quality writer, they're miserable with what they're doing, they're miserable at their job and the people they work with, and they're barely making any money. Why would you stay in that environment? So they've all gone their indie route, and I think Marvel and DC are both going like, oh, shit, and they're doing everything they can to try to get some of these people back. Like, hey, we'll give you a little 4-issue mini, come back. But yeah, I mean, Chuck, if I were a publisher, I would have a good, probably 20 creators I'd be just picking up right now. Just like, cool, what do you want to do? Tell me what you want to write. Let's go.
All right.
Chuck, do you think it's a bad sign that in a matter of 4 weeks, the Batman writer left for Substack, the Spider-Man writer left for Substack, and then the guy that was in charge of all of X-Men left for Substack? Those are the premier gigs in comic books, right?
Yeah, but if you're not making money, or you're creatively frustrated, or you're going to look somewhere else. I don't know what the deal with Substack is.
They're giving grants, and they're big grants too, and they come with benefits as far as healthcare and stuff like that.
That's insane.
It's a good deal.
It's all venture capital money that's going to run out.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable money.
The
The
that's
grants
the problem in
themselves
comics. I mean, when a new guy calls me, and there's lots of them, these guys call out of the blue. I want to pay you to write a comic. My question is, do you have the money, and where does that money come from? If it comes from my mom, I hang up. If the guy says, I just sold my tech company, I'm listening.
Well, we have Dark Admiral March here. Would Mr. Dixon have any interest in writing Spider-Man? I'd love to see his take on Sinister Six, the Chameleon, the Rose, and whatever Osborn is alive.
Yeah, I mean, if I could figure out the current continuity, I like, I was a Spider-Man fan when I was a kid. I mean, Steve Ditko is the reason why I work in comics. He was my first comic book idol. And so, yeah, I like, and my Robin, my first few years of Robin, I used the first issues of Spider-Man as a template for doing that monthly, because I thought this is how you do an ensemble cast book about a superhero who's a teenager. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't get better than the first 40 issues of Spider-Man.
I was going to jump in and say, I think the thing I'd like if you wrote Spider-Man is just the relationships that you would write. Because we don't really get relationships in that way anymore. We don't really get ensemble casts. You just have two-dimensional characters that are there as a supporting character, and that's it. But you did so many great things with characters and the people around them, and you built these worlds with these characters that just continued to be there and live, and it made it relatable. And I think so there's politics and so much of discussions today with comics, but I felt like you got a good grasp of the world and how the scope of the world. So that's what I would love to see.
Well, I liked writing in those scenes. I mean, I could write Tim Drake Alfred scenes for the rest of my life. I mean, I enjoyed writing all of them. I didn't let them take up a lot of space in the book, because comics are about action and forward movement. But those little character moments. I mean, one of my favorites was Batman and Robin are up on a rooftop, and they hear this gasp behind them, and it's this woman who's come up on the roof to bring in her laundry, which she had drying, and she faints dead away. And So Batman takes care of her and tells Robin, take down her laundry and fold it for her.
So be a good neighbor.
Yeah, and I thought, those kind of scenes, I love writing the big action stuff and the mayhem, but those kind of scenes are always a blast to write. And you got to think about that because the readers are invested in these characters, so you've got to make them relatable and make them seem honest. You can't make them seem realistic because they're at the heart ridiculous characters, but you can make them seem honest, to human nature and human emotions. And Larry Hama always said, don't write about human relationships until you've had one. So,
Yeah. I think that might be a problem with a lot of the people in comics these days.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Lack
well,
of
also, because of political correctness, we're all afraid of each other.
Yeah.
So it's hard to write about this stuff because some of these people probably haven't really ever experienced an honest relationship with anybody.
We've got Andrew B. chiming in. You've likely heard this 1,000 times, but thank you for Birds of Prey. You introduced me to my favorite comic partnership, Babs and Dinah. Thank you very much. What do you think about Babs and Dinah as a team there, Chuck?
Well, I mean, I got to pass your thanks on to Jordan Gorfinkel because he really created Birds of Prey. He's the one that put the team together and convinced me that it was a good idea to write. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see it at first, what he was talking about, how Babs and Dinah are different enough, but similar enough that they would make an interesting character combination. They had a good chemistry going in. And it wasn't until I got into writing the very first one shot that I realized, Gorf's right. These characters belong together.
There you go, Andrew. You got another thank you to put out there. That's why you need good editorial teams. We got Kenneth Dowling. Chuck, you are widely considered among the masters, if not the master of writing great action in comics, Nightwing being the example he's using. I'm making a superhero myself. How do you do action and communicate it to the artist?
Well, Nightwing's probably the worst example for me because I would just, with Scott McDaniel, I would just tell him where the action was beginning and where it had to end. And he came up with everything in between. Now, when I'm coordinating with other artists, you sort of block it out. We've all seen action films and, you got to create a kind of continuity of flow. And the other thing is Jackie Chan movies taught me to have the fight happen in an interesting location with a lot of collateral damage and a lot of props and a lot of risks other than the guy's going to beat the hell out of you. You're going to fall off of something or there's wild animals loose or whatever. So you got to have it in.
Or you can hit him with a chair.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you think about Jackie Chan's fight with he uses a ladder in one of the movies as a weapon and stuff like that. But you gotta really think it out. Also, it's got to serve more than one purpose. It can't just be two guys punching each other. It's also got to either advance characterization, be funny, or in some other way advance the storyline.
Yep.
It's like if you ever seen a musical. In a musical, the song advances the storyline. The storyline doesn't stop when the song begins. The song advances it. The action scenes should do the same thing.
Wow.
That is some deep stuff. We got Lane Kramer here.
Mr. Chuck, sorry, but Mr. Chuck, you should be a director, man. I know you don't care about these movies and none of this stuff, but just the way you broke that down,
Well, this is what I think about. So.
The next issue of Ninja Blast is going to be better for this, right? Right, Fredo J?
Speaking of Ninja Blast, thank you everybody who supported.
Cool.
And hey, you mentioned it, Wes. I didn't mention it. I wasn't.
Get your
plug
stuff
away,
in there,
man.
Yeah.
By the way,
we got Lane Kramer. So could Marvel combine their 4 events in January into Empire-ish Extreme Reckoning War of the Sword of the Inferno? One comic, $15, edited by Chuck Dixon. Would you pay for that, Doc?
I think the title's a bit of a mouthful, but yeah, sure. Chuck's editing.
It can't be any bigger clusterfuck than all the events were on their own, right?
Oh
yeah, it can't be. I mean, you could try to make it worse, but it'd probably take effort. It'd probably take more talent to fuck it up more than they've already done.
I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead.
What do you think, Yule? Is 4 events happening in 1 month too much?
Yeah.
For a publisher.
Going back to when comics died for Marvel, old timers, older than me timers, they would say Secret Wars. So think about that.
Wow.
Just the first one.
There's
That's
a
when it
question
happened.
that's been on everybody's mind, Chuck. What's the deal with Nightwing's butt?
I don't know. What is the deal with Nightwing's butt?
Well, there's always a close-up in the comic book and in the cartoon and stuff,
You
right?
can bounce a quarter off that.
Yeah.
Well, you could say the same thing for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
If Campbell's drawing him, for sure.
Yeah, it's the same kind of, it's an acrobat, trapeze stuff. You can't help but look at their butt.
That makes sense. Yeah.
There you go. That's the deal. We got Wolfstein 3D. Comics are about action and forward movement. Should be in big letters in every DC and Marvel office.
Mainstream for sure, but what about like Talking Heads comics? We don't see those all the time, but we see them more often in superhero comics than in the indies anymore.
Well,
It's crazy on the indie scene.
Yeah, Talking Heads, but I think the problem is you have Talking Heads and nothing is accomplished. Like there
Well,
is
they
no
finished their
narrative, no
meal,
character
dude.
growth. Like,
Right.
Everything is a Netflix pitch nowadays, which doesn't have to be a bad thing. But when you start dumbing the comic books down to Netflix, which is a completely another medium, that's when I think you start getting into trouble. We've got King KDI. Would Chuck write Midnighter? Whether a mini story or an ongoing start off like Donnie Cates took from chat. Tevi's question added sub. Oh, you a Midnighter fan?
Mean write him again? Because I did a Midnighter Grifter miniseries.
yeah.
For the record,
go.
Chuck, I own the original art of the preliminary cover for #1 of that. It's hanging
cool.
on my wall behind me.
Very
Ryan
cool.
Benjamin's art. Yeah, it was dope.
Very cool.
Very nice. So there you go, King KDI. Go out and get that. It's already out there. We got Neostar Productions. Hey, Chuck, speaking of Ditko, would you be interested in writing for a character like The Question or Ted Kord, Blue Beetle?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In a heartbeat. I included Blue Beetle in a lot of the stuff I was doing with Birds of Prey. I mean, I kind of brought him into the Bat universe when I was writing because I always thought he was a fascinating character. But yeah, either one of them. I'm just a huge Ditko fanatic.
Absolutely. We've also got Nightmare X123. Chuck, how would you make a comic without action?
You got to get somebody else to do it. I mean,
Write a novel.
Yeah. Well, even my novels are blood soaked. So if you remember Nightwing 25, it's Nightwing and Robin having a heart-to-heart. That was requested by the editors. We want you to have an issue where Nightwing and Robin, or Tim Drake and Dick Grayson, just sort of hang out together. And I said, man, I hate those kind of comics. So I wrote it, but they're talking together on top of a speeding train, and then a bunch of guys show up to rob the train. So I gave the editors what they want, but not in the way they wanted it. And then the same month, they wanted Birds of Prey 8. They just wanted Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon hanging out together. And I thought, I can't do it without action. So I came up with the idea that he takes her for one last swing on the trapeze. And so there was no bad guys or violent action in the story, but there was action.
Yep.
Because comics are about visual stuff going on. They're an immediate experience. They're not something you should have to sit and read to just determine what's going on.
Right.
Absolutely. We've also got Kenneth Dowling. When it comes to butts, nothing beats Huntress and Spider-Woman. Would you agree with that, Josh?
Sure. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask for that, but yeah, I mean, I'm a Huntress fan.
You know what's going on.
Yeah.
We can all admire things. There you go. Thank you very much, Kenneth. So, obviously, we were taking a lot of Q&A for Chuck there. We've talked kind of about the comic industry. Let's kind of transition over to DC killing Superman again. The rumors out there, Philip Kennedy Johnson is trying to kind of tamp it down. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the DC is actually going to go through and remove Clark Kent from the DC universe, at least temporarily?
Sure. I mean, I've heard all that stuff like you were saying also. I try not to read. So ordering comics, you read the descriptions of everything that's going to happen. And if you're a fan of comics and you're reading that, it really spoils things. And of course, you got your websites that always have to one up another and come up with some story that's going on, or spoil some story that's going to happen. We all knew Superman was dying in the old days, so I guess it's not that big a deal. But hey, we've seen it with Miles Morales. They're retreading all the Spider-Man tropes into his book. It may be good, but is that something I, as an older reader, really want to read? And I think ultimately, like we've been talking about, it doesn't matter that what I want to read.
I think
it's the newies,
I think it comes back to the same thing that Marvel has done and DC's realized that they have to do. These characters get rejected as long as there is an alternative of the real character. And once again, they're being rejected. So they cannot give you anywhere to run to. You cannot have any respite. You cannot have any, when your enemy, goes to ground, leave them no ground to go to. And
Hey, Doc,
that's what they're doing right now.
I often joke about how it must have been for someone in the 60s when they saw the first Flash, Barry Allen, or Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, because they weren't like the ones from before. I doubt anybody was really screaming so bad, but to envision that the outrage of today over Superman leaving and son of Kal-El sticking around, and Wonder Woman for Wonder Girl, or Batman for Fox, whatever, I don't know, whichever Fox it is, all that stuff, Robin, but we're way more outraged than what I assume people in the 60s were when it came to those other characters. But possibly, I don't know. It's just funny to think about that. Everybody loves Barry Allen. Everybody loves Hal Jordan. Not everybody, but we hated when Kyle Rayner took over. You know what I mean?
But think back on it. Think back when Barry took over from Jay. Flash Comics had basically stopped being published.
Yeah, there were a lot of
years. There was no
interruptions.
superheroes. The superheroes weren't even a thing anymore in the popular in comics. They were like 4th or 5th in popularity. They were behind romance, Western, war, and horror. And so the likelihood of people getting that pissed off about something that wasn't already working is, fairly low. But at the same time, you've since built 60 years, almost 70 years, based on having these superheroes and these tropes, these particular characters, and they've maintained their popularity. Now you pull the rug out from under not just one, but dozens at the exact same time.
It is a lot of them for sure.
Yeah. and it's all of the big ones. And you're gonna get people that are pissed and that are just gonna say, fuck you, fine, I'm done.
Well, does anybody think that it's actually because of copyright reasons and the families trying to take control or get more money from the companies they're doing this?
No,
because
I think. Go ahead, Doc.
No, go.
I was just gonna. I was gonna say there's a difference in how they're doing it now to how they did it before too, though. Like before you had years and years and years of just building up this character to make them independent, make them stand on their own. Like, we've got Chuck here, so I mentioned Dick. You had Dick all through the New Teen Titans, and that's after years and years of being with Batman. So you've got this scope of him just building into his own man. But it was over the course of decades, it's a publication history. And then we finally were like, here, he's his own individual. He's going to step out on his own. And hey, maybe he's as good, if not better than Batman. That question was posed. Now you've got it happening within the course. Like, it's just happening overnight. We're deciding, nope, this character is going to step down. This one's going to rise up, and we're going to tell you they're better. And you just have to believe this. It's when you go about it that way, it's never going to be taken well.
It feels like, maybe microwaves really killed society.
You're not wrong.
You can put water on the stove. I'm just saying, they'll get hot. Yeah. But we want something so fast. So now we need Amazon to have a freaking storage center right next door so I can get my item the next day, and screws up the supply chain.
It's definitely changed the way comic books are read. We've got Lane Kramer saying bucket list item here, Mr. Dixon live later. Well, thank you very much, Lane Kramer. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We got Kenneth Dally. It's like more and more they mine Death of Superman, take the impact out of that story by doing this.
Yeah,
that's definitely one of the byproducts there, Josh. When you keep going back to the well on some of these stories, how many times are they going to do a clone conspiracy? We've got like 4 World War Hulks now.
Yep. They keep tapping. Look, I think the writers today, the creatives today are kind of just creatively drained. There's not much there. They keep tapping the well, and they're not doing their stories as well. And then you have the back end of that of there's no consequences. And when I was discussing the Batman run through the 90s and all these events, you had consequences that fell out of each one and kind of tethered into individual stories within the runs and then eventually that next event. Now you have an event and it's supposed to be this huge big deal. Like we want you to, get this. And then by the next issue, it's just completely forgotten and they're acting like it doesn't exist. I mean, the way we release comics and the way customers read them, you have to invest in them. As a reader, you are investing. So if you've got writers doing stories that don't let you invest in them, why should I invest my money? Like it makes no sense. I'll just trade wait. Because I can wait, 3 to 6 months, get that story as a trade, read it, and I'm not really missing anything that's released in individual issues since then.
Hey, and you touched on something. You said consequences.
Yeah.
Mr. Dixon, I've always wondered this. Do the editors always say, don't take a risk, no consequences, don't kill this person, don't do this? Is that a thing when it comes to DC?
Well, we call it the illusion of change. So you would do things that would make it seem like the continuity is going to change forever, but you didn't ever want to permanently change the continuity.
Gotcha.
So Nightfall would be the perfect example of it. We worked hard to convince the readers that Bruce Wayne was going to be gone forever, even though we knew he wasn't, because readers had gotten cynical. So we were working hard against that cynicism.
I like that though, the illusion. I like that.
Yeah, because you can't really alter. There's reasons why you shouldn't change these characters too drastically, because you think of all the people who don't read comics. You don't want to change the continuity. Well, they're not even going to care. They're not. Clark Kent is always going to be Superman.
Mm-hmm.
To 99% of the population.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, that's why when they make a dramatic change in John, they just mention that it's Superman. They don't even mention the actual Superman that it is.
Right.
Yep.
Because they know that it'll be, kind of translated right onto Clark. We've got Common Sense. What about Steve Ditko's The Creeper? He's been missing in action. I remember he would have a son if Son of Creeper would have won. I forgot who's the writer. Not sure about the writer. What do you think about The Creeper?
Yeah, the Creeper really wasn't around long enough to develop as a character. Because I remember, reading it when it first came out. It was like a couple of issues, and then he sort of disappeared forever. So he's kind of an interesting character to have show up now and again. I don't believe I ever used him. In fact, I think there might have been a moratorium on him. There were a lot of weird rules at DC when I was there. There was moratoriums, can't use this character, can't use that character, and they would never explain why.
I would love a moratorium on Harley Quinn and Joker.
Well, we tried moratoriums on the Joker, and everybody would disobey it. We put a year-long moratorium on Joker, and then the Superman guys started using him.
Oh, you said that they did a story where their Superman story was he thinks he's Batman.
The last Bat Summit I was at, the Superman group editor came by on the last day to tell us what the Superman Summit had come up with. And what they had come up with was Superman gets amnesia and thinks he's Batman. And so he goes around the Batman costume. And when Paul Levitz heard this, he was like, no, you go back and think of something else.
Think of something Superman related. Everybody's going to be Batman by the time this is over. We got Sigma Comics. Chuck Dixon is an inspiration to many. Please keep bringing him on. Today's creatives have lots to learn, and he's generally altruistic with his knowledge. He's also a kind supporter of indie comics.
Yes, I am.
Well, Chuck's gonna come on the channel whenever he wants. I'll tell you that. But what do you think about the indie comic scene and supporting crowdfunding? Is that something you're passionate about, Chuck?
Yeah, I like seeing what these people are doing. There's a lot of interesting stuff being done outside of the big two, the major publishers. and it's raw comics. This is the way comics are supposed to be. You know, a couple of folks have an idea for a comic and they do it. They put on a show, and you know, some of them are good, some of them need a little bit of work, some of them have been fantastic. You know, but you've got an army of underserved readers who have left comics for good because there's nothing there for them anymore. And then you have an army of underemployed comic book professionals. And what are they supposed to do? You know, become a greeter at Walmart or keep working in comics? So we've all found our own way, and crowdfunding is a big part of it.
So what do you think? Like, obviously, there's nothing really keeping you from publishing your own comic book nowadays. The customers themselves are more accessible than ever, whether it be print on demand. You could do a Patreon model. You could do crowdfunding. You could come up with your own webtoon, whatever it is. Like, do you think if you were in your younger days, if this was available, would you have taken a different route? Maybe not going that DC Batman or Marvel Punisher route. Maybe just going to doing your own thing and see if you could create your own empire.
Yeah, if I was able to create comics outside of the print media, just go right to digital, I would have been all over it. I mean, I used to write and draw comics for the fanzines. I mean, there was no money. It was just wanting to do it, wanting to see something in publication. So yeah, I'd be all over the digital stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a new industry that we're kind of working within. So what do you think, Yule, as a comic book retailer, would is another Death of Superman going to be treated well, specifically coming on the heels with what's happening with Jon, where it feels the cynical nature of a lot of readers is, well, they're doing it, so people have to accept Jon as the Superman.
Yeah, I kind of feel that's how it feels that way right now, but ultimately it's just a cash grab, right?
It's a gimmick. It's a market.
It's a gimmick. All right, well, we had Robin come out as bi. I hate saying it all this way because when you put it together, it's like if one character, something happening, it ain't no big deal, but you had Future State, it kind of blew. And we knew where things were going, and we're still sort of going there. Mm-hmm. And there's this replacing of characters. Jon Kent in Superman has been talking about how his father is not going to exist after this timeline, this part in time. And we're racing there. And it's not really... I mean, for months we've been hearing about this, right? This is no big... Mm-hmm. Was Superman going to come back? Yeah, of course Superman's going to come back because nothing was better than he was in all black and he had that hair and everything, Everybody loved that.
He had the mullet, man.
That's right, man. I mean, hopefully Dan Jurgens can come back for that issue or something.
This is not going to hit hard, though.
No,
it's not going to hit hard. I remember when I was a kid. And sorry for cutting you off, man. But I can remember when I was a kid and I looked on TV and they was covering Death of Superman, and I was like, damn.
And they're going to do it this way again, but less people watch TV, so someone better make a YouTube video about it.
Yeah, because I looked at my mom as a kid. I said, Mom, they're really killing Superman? Oh, man. And my mom, she was like, oh, man, they are killing Superman. It was a big deal. It's hype around this, though. It's no hype.
There were so many ladies with their kids in tow coming into the comic store or pre-ordering them. I was just a fan at the time. Yeah. But we're all standing at the counter and we're watching all these these normies coming into the comic store to place an order for Superman, and you got to make sure you come in because blah blah blah.
Yeah. It's crazy. I was building a house at the time. I was having a house built. And I pulled up to the house one day, and these guys are all working, framing the house, cutting sawing wood and hammering and putting the roof on. They all stopped work and came over because they knew what I did for a living. And they gather around me and say, why'd you kill Superman?
It's crazy. But right now, I mean, I know you say you don't really read the new product, but, obviously there's a new Superman. The real Batman is going to be leaving Gotham to Jace Fox, the new Batman. We've got a new Aquaman that's coming up into the mantle. We're replacing Billy Batson as Shazam with Mary Marvel. They're just almost.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Justice League. Hey, you like Mary Marvel?
Oh, I'm just saying she can give the Huntress a run for her money, I bet.
But it all happens at once, and it definitely makes you cynical that it's kind of what they're going for.
It might as well be marketing 101, the comic book.
Yeah.
Because it's hey, we're
They
going to
just did
use
it at Marvel.
Yeah, I already saw this episode. It failed.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
we got Metal Clergy time again. It says, Wes, I love your panels lately. Keep it up. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying the Comics Aficionados. We got Atomic Hound. Doesn't the current direction of DC feel like the Layla exit scene from Goodfellas, just disposing of and cutting ties to characters and creators that made you score big? Obviously, the scene where they're murdering everybody. What do you think about that?
I got that when he was murdering everybody.
Yeah, you got the one dude that's frozen and he's stuck
but he got a hook through his head.
Yeah, they had to thaw him for 3 days. You got to cut all ties. Is that what's going on here, Josh?
I mean, it feels like it. You know, we've got, and I think it's to Yule's point. If it was one character and it's happening, that would be one thing. But it's everyone. It is literally everyone. You know, we got Batman, we've got Superman, we've got Aquaman, we've got who am I missing?
3 Wonder Women right now.
Yeah, you've got 3 different Wonder Women, pretty much, and you know, Diana is not even. I mean, I guess she's back to Earth now, but yeah. Well,
I guess it's 4 then, because you got Hippolyta, Diana, Nubia, and Yara Flor.
They screwed up because like Yara looked like she was going to be a hit, a real character that they could like really, and another one that puts the Huntress, you know, that whole thing. She's a cool character, right? But then you got Nubia and you got Diana going away, but she's still got a story at that time. And then, like you said, Hippolyta, and you got to focus on one. You can't have everybody on the show. You know what I mean? Whatever. That's the way comics are, man.
Well, I remember everyone was excited for Yara Flor, and
Batman
nobody even talks about the character now.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Lateness had something to do with it, but they seem to have lost interest the minute that TV show didn't really happen.
Yeah. I have a question for Chuck real quick. So, you know, you were there in the offices when the death of Superman was happening. And then also I think it was Denny that was talking about how with Nightfall, they didn't even want Bruce in the book, and DC came back, or Warner Brothers came back. It was like, no, we can't do this with Batman and Superman. But when y'all were building those stories and kind of crafting them out, was there a point where you were discussing why you would want the character gone and what you can gain from it and how you're going to approach it so that it feels natural? Because those types of conversations don't seem like they're happening with these stories. It just seems like, okay, let's do it. Go.
Well, both Death of Superman and Nightfall were created in mind of, you know, what kind of story can we tell?
Right.
You know, what kind of story can we build? And when you look at, Death of Superman was planned out like 2 years of continuity. Same thing with Nightfall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going all in on this because we think it's a good idea, and we're going to work hard to make sure that this thing catches on and that the readers respond to it. And you had an awesome team of creators on Superman. You had a terrific team of creators on Batman at the time, and you had the sure guidance of 2 group editors who gave a damn.
Yeah.
You know, and we thought about the readers then. And we thought about this is to the degree that we thought about the readers. We wanted to introduce Bane in his own standalone special.
Mm-hmm.
But the main concern was, will we be leaving the newsstand readers behind? We didn't want it to be direct only. Now, when you're figuring out what you want to publish from a magazine publisher, there's a lot of moving parts. And so we had to get Jeanette Kahn on the horn because she was the publisher at the time. And get her, like, will the Vengeance of Bane #1 be available on the newsstand? Otherwise, we're going to have to rethink this. That's how much we thought about the readers, not leaving them behind. Today, they don't seem to give a damn about the readers. They just hope that they'll get mentioned on NBC Nightly News and they'll be able to slap each other's backs at the editorial meeting.
Definitely feels like we got Kenneth Dowling in here. Thank you so much for very generous supporting the channel. You and Doc, your conversation prompted me to announce this development. In the recent Miles Morales Spider-Man, the Beyond Corps is banning him from using the name Spider-Man. Do you think this could lead to him changing his name? I'm excited.
I fucking hope so. I really do. He needs to be like, you know, Kid Arachnid, the Arachnite. I don't give a shit. I don't care what his name is, but you can't have to. I hate legacies, and having two of the exact same character with the exact same name in the same universe at the same time is the stupidest shit on the planet.
I enjoy the fact that Miles Morales goes to Peter for advice and stuff like that. It's very much like when Peter and the Torch or Daredevil get together. So I like that aspect, even if they have the same powers, set somewhat. But having a different name would be really good for Miles Morales, I think. It was all right in the
Spider-Man
Ultimate Universe. Say what?
Yellow Spider-Man has a pretty good name in the chat. He says Shadow Spider.
There
I
you
like
go,
that.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what they call him, just not Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Call him not
figure out another species.
Not Spider-Man.
Call him not Spider-Man for all I care.
Reverse Spider-Man. So it could happen. The character deserves his own character name. It makes it confusing, and he'll always be a lesser version of Spider-Man because Peter Parker exists.
And he always just gets Peter's hand-me-downs.
Yep.
Literally the entire time.
Kenneth Dowling says Goodfellas, the best gangster film of all time.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Definitely in the conversation. In the short list, we got Drew with Comics Elite. Chuck just said it, long-term planning. There's no long-term planning anymore. It's equivalent to improv theater and going with the flow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can't run a business on that.
No, I was going to make a comment too. Like Chuck was talking about how Nightfall was like a 2-year plan. If you try to do that story now, they would squeeze it into 6 issues, maybe if you're lucky 12, and yet still somehow these stories are way more decompressed than what we got. Like, I'm just like,
yeah. When I was reading Nightfall, I had to take breaks. I was like, I've got action
Yeah.
sensory overload.
Mm-hmm.
So many things have happened, within this last 30 minutes. I got to take a little break and like calm down. I was like, so much happening here. You could just breeze through a train nowadays and nothing happens.
We had Alan Grant on the team, 2000 AD guy, and so there's new shit happening on every page.
Yes.
So we all had to run to keep up with him.
Because he's used to doing those 12-page stories, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and if you read 2000 AD, it's like, oh my God, there's so much crammed into this story, and it doesn't seem crammed, but they're throwing so many ideas and concepts at me, all at one time. And other comics, this would be 12 pages of 2 people sitting at a table talking, and maybe a third person comes in to watch them.
Right.
Oh, and they need to do at least one scene where they're eating.
Yeah, it's soap opera writing.
Yes.
Speaking of soap opera writing,
soap opera, they're always eating and drinking.
Robert Hennigan says, question for everyone. What is your take on the constant universe ending world-shattering events? Is it too much meaning? Are the stakes too high? There are no stakes. That's the problem. Because, you're just on a constant set of cliffhangers. You never have an opportunity to breathe, relax, and be like, oh my goodness, what just happened? Who just died? What is the fallout of this enormous event? Because you're just into the next event. Sorry.
When everything matters, nothing matters.
Yeah.
Maybe most of the world-shattering events should happen just on the cover, and then you can just read a story on the inside. Because that's how it, you look at those Adam Strange, right? All of the world's getting blasted all the time, or he's being ripped between 2 worlds that are just being destroyed. I don't know. It's exciting. Man, these covers these days are really artfully done, but they're so boring. And it would be nice to. Who would you put? Like Marvel, if they would just for 1 month just have like the old Gil Kane days or something like that.
Yeah.
Or DC with Luis Garcia Lopez, and if it wasn't them, it was somebody else. And just people that earn the covers, not just some flashy digital artist, I think would help.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
It's all good. We got this. Robert Hennigan, thank you very much for supporting the channel. I think we're caught up on all the super chats. I wanted to talk about this one. This is obviously something that Chuck's going to be well aware of. At least I imagine he has an idea who will win this fight. Normally we do these little geek fights here. We got Punisher versus Daredevil. Who wins? We'll go to Chuck last, since he should have the most well thought out idea of who wins. Doc, you seem to be a very opinionated person. You get Punisher, you get Daredevil. Who's going to win that confrontation?
Punisher, because he'll just keep shooting you. I mean, eventually bullet's gonna hit him. He can flip around and spin and twist and dodge shit all day long, and Frank will just keep coming. He's the goddamn Terminator. He won't stop.
Well, the problem is that Daredevil, he won't finish the job, and Punisher will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he could probably defeat the Punisher regardless of the armaments. But if it was to the death, there might be a different story.
Listen, Daredevil just killed somebody recently.
He does.
He killed him for stealing
once in a while.
an air conditioner, right?
That would be the Dark Knight Daredevil, is him actually killing Punisher. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with Yul on this one. I think what it comes down to is Matt's going to find a way not to kill, and Punisher's not going to have any hesitation to kill. And
yeah,
if you're doing a fight to the death, that's going to play a big role.
Frank will just start laying claymores everywhere until one of them eventually hits him.
All right, Jay, who you got on this one?
I'm gonna play the advocate because I thought Daredevil, his power was like if you take one step, he could hear the little sensors of your foot hitting the ground or something. Isn't that his power? Like,
well, I mean,
can he hear your finger? Can he hear your finger about to wrap around the trigger or something like
Absolutely.
that? Okay,
yeah,
so
his agility is off the charts.
He can hear your heartbeat, dude.
That's what I'm saying. So wouldn't he have to jump the edge over Punisher before he even do anything?
I think a speed and physics things comes into play at some point, though. Like, yeah, you're gonna dodge. He's gonna dodge bullets, but eventually he's gonna get hit. Like, it's just.
But don't he have the little
hit.
baton? He got the baton he can throw too, right? He throws the baton.
Sure,
yeah, but we're talking about bullets.
A baton.
Look, I love
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
And run.
I put Daredevil up there with Nightwing and one of my favorite characters. But I think if you're having a fight to the death, he's gonna lose.
Okay, Daredevil can go toe to toe with Bullseye. Am I right? He can go toe-to-toe. So wouldn't he be able to hit you in the right spot to where it knocks you out?
Well, yeah. Again, it's it just
Daredevil
depends.
all the way, baby.
And then Frank wakes up eventually and still comes and tries to kill you.
Yeah,
Well,
but
guys,
you still got time to run away after you don't knock somebody out. You can run away for a while. Daredevil wins.
We actually have an expert on the panel that might have the best answer for this.
Okay.
All right, Chuck. Who wins? You got Punisher versus Daredevil. They fought a lot. Punisher normally wins.
Yeah, Frank starts with a flashbang grenade. That takes out Daredevil's hearing, sonar abilities, all the rest. And then he beats him unconscious with a sock full of nickels.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So Frank wins.
Yes. As you said, Frank's not going to hesitate. So
I've actually been around one of those flashbangs. Those were not pleasant.
No.
I want to go off topic for just a hot second because we're talking about Punisher, we're talking about Daredevil, and then I have this shirt. Chuck, you wrote a 4-issue miniseries of Huntress. When you approached that, did you kind of approach that as if she was a combination of Punisher and Daredevil to a degree, or no?
Well, they're all lapsed Catholics, so they have that in common. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but it's like if the Punisher was a woman, she's not going to deal as well with the post-traumatic stress disorder,
right?
As Frank. Well, I don't know if he's dealt with it well, but he deals with it. He keeps moving forward. To me, that would be crippling for a woman to go through the same experience. Not to say women aren't tough, because they are. I've certainly written my share of tough women, and then Huntress in the end overcomes. But she's going to deal with the emotional side of it, where Frank turns his back on all that.
Yep, I like that. Sorry.
All right, who wins, Huntress or Punisher?
Oh, wow.
I would have said Punisher because I think he's got more training than Huntress. However, if you go with Huntress that's been with Richard Dragon and has this whole spy background, it could be a pretty good fight, but Punisher's going to have the mask. The
Punisher all the way, man.
Well, women are Frank Castle's blind side, so I give it to the Huntress.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
See, and he just became my You know what? You're right. Forget Doc. Forget Doc being right. Chuck's right.
Today's
No,
the
that's
Chuck
just
is
fixed.
right show.
That's right.
Nothing wrong with that. We got Yellow Spider-Man. Speaking of Chuck is right. Mr. Dixon, did the idea for Superman with amnesia to become Batman that you mentioned happen before or after the Elseworld Superman speeding bullets?
I think it happened after, which makes it even sadder. It's just, they were just creatively bankrupt.
Yeah.
And this isn't the Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, that crowd. This is the guys that came afterwards. And Mike Carlin was not the editor.
Okay.
We got Federico De La Casa. Daredevil versus Punisher is the new Hulk versus the Thing. Hulk versus Thing.
I'm not getting into the Hulk versus the Thing.
You see, supposedly we're going to have the greatest Hulk versus Thor fight in comic book history. That's what they're planning, or they're promising for this Donny Cates run.
Oh, I'm down. He writes both books. I'm excited. Yeah.
They said this is going to be the most destructive, violent Hulk we've ever seen in comics.
This is going to be like when Ryan Otley destroyed Las Vegas in Invincible. That's what I'm expecting.
Or when he destroyed that entire planet in Invincible.
Sure. I want Thor to be so hated by the world that he's just like, I'm going to go sulk in Asgard, wherever that is now. Yeah.
We've got somebody that's ready to upset Chuck. I like that. Challenge him, Kenneth. He says Daredevil wins hands down. When you guys have these fights, I always go to the comics. Daredevil is more likely to kill than Batman. Take Frank's guns away, he's nothing.
But we're not taking Frank's guns away. He still has them.
Well, Daredevil could take them away. He's got the batons,
Frank's always got another gun.
Yeah, Frank's
is he keister stashing it, Chuck?
Yep. He's like Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome. Yeah, just pile them up on the table. There's no end to it.
There you go, Kenneth. All right. Kenneth says it's Daredevil. I like it. Kenneth also says another great character you wrote along with Denny O'Neil, Chuck, is Richard Dragon. The mini in the double odds was good. Miss him to Yule. Last time you were on the panel, I misquoted you on what is that?
Richard Dragon, Batman.
Richard Dragon, My apologies.
It's all right.
Richard Dragon's a cool character.
Yep.
They had to write him out of this Mortal Kombat tournament, Chuck. There's these kids on a boat. They're like, yeah, I took down Richard Dragon before we even got here. It was like, what? This is a martial arts tournament.
Wow.
They did that with multiple characters.
Yes, they did. It was disappointing. I think
it was super disappointing.
Oh man, who's the second most powerful? The lady.
Lady Shiva. Yeah.
Yes, they did that to her too.
They did it with Richard Dragon, Lady Shiva, Deathstroke.
She didn't use the poison nails on that kid or something? What?
The shame.
Can anyone beat Richard Dragon, Chuck? Not Batman can't do it, right?
No, yeah, he's pretty much top of the heat.
Yeah,
he taught them all.
Yeah,
you can't have a Mortal Kombat martial arts tournament in DC Comics without Richard Dragon. But I guess they wanted all the kids to be in the finals. They wanted Damian Wayne and what's her name, Rose.
Yeah,
this is just a big lesson,
Connor Hawk. Yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah. Wait, Connor's in it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the finalist with Damian. Those are the last two that haven't died yet.
All right, okay.
Yeah. All right, we have anything else to say about Punisher versus Daredevil? I think that was fine. Let's move on to Miles Morales Spider-Man. This is obviously we did talk about him just a few moments ago. Chuck, there was recently a facsimile edition of Miles Morales' first appearance. It sold 92,000 copies.
Wow.
And in the same month, they had Miles Morales, the 10th anniversary new comic, so it was a milestone, and it sold 70,000. What does that tell you? Were people just excited to get their hands on the first appearance, or are they doing a disservice to Miles Morales right now?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. But good for them. 92,000. That's pretty good sales. Actually, 70,000 is pretty good sales.
Yeah, because it was a milestone. Normally, it's between 35 and 40.
Wasn't he debuting the new costume there also?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a gimmick that we can go back to. Yeah, after they
And the
exhaust
facsimile
all the
edition
other
was
ones.
$4. It's not like $1 comic book. It was the
Yeah.
same price as a regular comic.
Right.
But it's like this weird thing where you have these reprints that are outselling the new stuff. That can't be. I don't know.
Well, I think
know,
that was a
Doc, you're not a fan
facsimile.
of the writer, right?
What?
I am not a fan of either Bendis or Salad Man. So what this comes down to is people wanted copies of Ultimate Fallout 4 that can't afford copies of Ultimate Fallout 4.
How much are those going for?
I think even the standard A cover is high grade, 800 to 1,000.
Gee,
That's 9.6, 9.8. Then
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to not have that these days.
But the one variant is like between $3,000 and $5,000.
Damn.
The other two second print variants also go for $400 to $500. So a lot of people just wanted copies of Ultimate Fallout 4 without having to pay the price for copies of Ultimate Fallout 4.
I want to this is a consumer advice here. When you're on eBay and you're bidding on Ultimate Fallout 4, make sure it's not a facsimile edition.
Yes, absolutely.
Jesus Christ.
If it's only selling for $10, you're not getting a good deal. You're about to get very disappointed.
No, some people list that stuff right off and buy it now for like $100 and stuff like that. You know, thinking that someone's stupid, and almost always someone's stupid.
And there's also like the Miles completists that have gone out and they've gotten all the copies, like all the different covers of Ultimate Fallout 4, and now there's another one. Years later, I mean, it's a facsimile edition, but it basically becomes the E cover.
Sure.
So yeah, they wanted that to.
Those guys would still buy the Miles Morales Spider-Man issue too.
Yeah. Well, no, not necessarily. They might just be big fans.
If they're completists, they are.
You said you're completists.
No. I mean, like his collector completists aren't necessarily active.
They can
reader
stop at
completers.
one point.
Yeah,
they can say like, "I'm only doing Ultimate, Wes. I'm not doing that new stuff."
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. It just reminds me when Dan Didio was at San Diego Comic-Con and he was lamenting the fact that they would have these facsimile editions and they were outselling the new comics featuring the same characters.
Of course. And the thing is like no one's paying Dick Dillon anymore. So you might as well bring those old Justice Leagues back,
Why
Yeah,
not?
but you would think they would take some like introspection, Chuck, and like, what is it about this old stuff that people like reading that they would prefer to just pay for the comic that they already have access to than buy the new one?
Nobody seems to do that kind of a self-examination or thing. I just think they need to go for a long walk or something. I mean, when you're a creative, sometimes you get stuck. And you get stuck and like, geez, I can't keep using the same idea and everything else. It's time to like push myself away and do something else for a while, and then come back to this. Because I just see the same ideas all over. It's like, well, this character's dead, this character's gay, this character's bi, and it's like, where are the good stories?
Well,
I think it's been taken over.
I think a lot of them, it's just people that the only time they look in the mirror is whether or not to see whether or not they're good for their Instagram selfie. not like an actual look in the mirror to really examine themselves and the way that their lives,
right,
their choices. There's none of that. There's none of that on the corporate level. Absolutely not.
But when you're a writer or an editor, the question you're asking yourself, or should be asking yourself all day long, is there a better way to do this? Is there a better way to say this? You never go with, it's not Jeopardy. You don't go with your first answer. Because generally your first answer is going to be a cliche or an overused idea. So you have to examine everything you do while you're doing it. And unfortunately, that's work. So these people don't want to do that.
Like a year ago or something on Twitter, Patrick Zurcher said that he showed this thing he was doing for Marvel. And he's like, they didn't even make me have to redraw anything. And then he showed this like DC thing, and it was just some stupid Superman flying in the air for something that didn't even matter. And he's like, they made me redraw this like 7 times or something like that. And I feel like, you know, the editor's not getting paid. They're being overworked. You bring in something on time, and I don't even want to like bother anything. You know, these, you know, with these people, they're probably not. Why jinx it? Yeah, exactly. At least I got it. And not only that, but we hear again, you know, unless you're like the favored few, and I'm sure it's always been that way for the most part, but you don't get paid a whole lot, you know, and you can spin. I'm just getting this stuff done for you. So
we've got a super chat here from Kenneth Dalek. He wants another geek fight here. I'll throw this one to you first, Fatal J, since you did Ninja Blast and you know everything about martial arts. And he says, "Okay, Chuck, since you say here's what: Richard Dragon versus Shang-Chi, both deadly masters of kung fu. Everyone, who wins? Who wins, Fatal J?"
You're muted.
And you were muted.
I really appreciate it though, because he eats with his mouth open.
Hey, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better with that, Yule. A lot of people been complaining about, you know, spit flying and all this type of stuff. So I'm trying to get better with learning how to chew with my mouth closed. But to answer your question about who will win between Richard Dragon and Shang-Chi, here it goes, right here. Stay quiet, stay quiet. I'm about to give it to you right here. I don't care.
That's about me too. I don't really give a fuck about either of these characters. So,
my goodness,
whichever
Which
hole
one's
you
a mutant?
throw them
They're
in,
neither are mutants. It doesn't matter, right, Doc?
I just whatever hole you throw them into that I never have to see them again. That's the one that wins.
My goodness, Yule, set these young whippersnappers straight. Who wins?
You know, I'm not a really big Shang-Chi fan, so I'm gonna go Richard Dragon. Since I haven't said it to you, Chuck, awesome series with McDaniel. That I had a buddy who's a little older than me, so he's like one of those old timers that was like Secret Wars blew everything, you know. And I would try and like show him books, and almost always the ones he really dug were books that you wrote.
Oh,
and
wow.
So like we were really in the Way of the Rat at the time, and that was
Way of the Rat was dope.
I'm sorry.
Cross-gen? That's
I'm
cross-gen.
not a cross-gen for me overall. I didn't like it all, but the Chucky Dix books, those are the good ones. And yeah, Richard Dragon all the way. That's what I say.
Hi, Josh.
I think this would be one of those situations where it's like, it's just a legend that they fought and that there wasn't a winner, but they fought for days and days and days. And it was just like, they would one up each other.
Flying Jaggers where they fought for like 3 years.
And then that is the legend. Like that, people don't know. They don't know what the actual outcome was. They don't know how it ended. They just know that these two men fought for days and did not stop. And then everyone else is like, I'm good. I don't need to fight them. I'm all right. I think that could be a fun take. Meanwhile, they're like, oh no, we fought for like 5 minutes. And we're like, you're skilled. I know you're skilled too. Awesome. Let's train.
Now,
I don't know who wins, Chuck. Is it Shang-Chi? Is it Richard Dragon?
I like Josh's idea that they fought to a draw after days and days.
Forever.
I would add that they were brought together to fight, you know, for some evil purpose, to wear them both down, to make them weak for another guy who shows up, and then together they defeat that guy.
Heck yeah.
So,
Not Bane?
Yeah. Now Bane's not
smart enough to do it.
Yeah, Bane's not a martial artist. You'd have to find a martial artist. I'd probably bring back the Brotherhood of the Monkey Fist for that one.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Karate Kid came from the future and went evil.
Yeah,
Karate Kid is from the future. Absolutely. Yeah. We got Federico de la Casa about writing in Nubia when the trans Amazon appears in the comic. The writer had to specify it on Twitter. If you can't say it in your work, you're a bad writer.
Yeah. If
a trans Amazon, get your head around that one.
Yeah. We're all still working on that one, Chuck.
I mean, how does that work on Paradise Island? The dude shows up.
There's been guys on Paradise Island, right? I mean, I'm thinking like,
well, yeah, they recently they recently had a thing where Wonder Woman had a brother that was born. Like that was at the end of the New
I
52.
remember that,
They've done
yeah.
weird stuff. I was just gonna say, Chuck, be careful about asking questions to gain understanding. You might get canceled.
Oh,
Yeah.
look. Hey,
That
I'm the
requires Chuck
genius
to
of
be
the
quiet.
Comics Gate. They canceled me so long ago they forgot about it.
I was gonna say too, this kind of the idea of this came up, and if I'm not mistaken, they kind of toyed with this same idea back in the Dreaming. If I'm like back in the 70s, maybe. I think they had a
Wait,
male
what?
character that came into the Dreaming that was a female. I'm foggy on it. It's been a long time, but it's not. I don't want to say it's a new idea. It's a forced idea, and if you're gonna do something like this that is different, and you're not used to seeing it, you cannot get pissed off when people say, how exactly does this work? Like they're trying to gain understanding. And the fact that so many people got
Well,
pissed
they said they used the Well of Souls. I think if you
Yeah.
transferred through the Well of Souls, you would just come out a woman.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not trans. You're just you're
I don't
just
even
in a
wanna-
female body now.
I'll
I
wait
think-
for the end before I say anything too
But-
stupid.
but
now.
Regardless, but here's the thing. Regardless, this super chat makes a very valid point. If you have to go to Twitter to explain your story, you wrote a shitty story.
Mhm.
Well, I don't think that character was supposed to be like anything important. Maybe we'll see him later on, but I think they were trying to cash in on the Jon Kent announcement. This was within a week of that. Obviously, there were people that were getting interviews on CNN. They were getting
Mhm.
headlines on every major publication, essentially around the world. I think they were trying to get on that bandwagon by saying, "Look, we've got the first trans Amazon." It just didn't work out like that because nobody's heard of Bia, and everyone knows who the fuck Superman is. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
isn't the new Wonder Woman that had this distinction, and I think the writer found out that there's a big difference as far as character
Yep.
notoriety.
Timing
Josh
also.
Josh brought up a great point in that some of these ideas aren't new; they were introduced earlier, but they weren't introduced as part of a political agenda or you should
Correct.
be ashamed if you don't like this or anything like that. I mean, North Star's gay. Okay, North Star's gay. The X-Men are led by a black an African American woman. Okay, that's cool. But today it would be you have to like this.
It would be the first time ever as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. The
And-
first
and
time we ever
history
had this.
today.
So, but the thing is, it's like this is the fifth time it's been the first time ever.
That's kind of what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
man,
And I think we're just all tired of it. We're just tired of
Yeah.
being told this is the first time that this thing has ever happened.
well,
You know
that's
what?
because we last too long. We're not supposed to be around.
Well,
You know,
what? My
We
last
are
time,
not welcome.
my last time in the bathroom. But you know what? Never mind. Never
I
mind.
know,
That's
I
a
mean,
terrible
dude,
joke.
I mean, seriously.
That's a
like,
terrible joke before it even comes out. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
don't
shut
finish
up.
it, man. Don't finish
no,
it.
I mean, we've seen it in sports because, like, when you got like sabermetrics, they've been fighting for that concept in baseball, and it's being applied in football now, and shooting 3-pointers
where-
like crazy in
Where
basketball.
you hit 350 on Tuesdays in August when you
It's not quite
slept
that way.
18
but yeah.
hours the night before.
Hey, well, nonetheless, baseball and all these other sports are paying attention to it now, and it's the soup du jour. But
It's just looking for
old timers that like wins matter in baseball. They don't anymore, and that's why you
yeah,
don't see
they're
a
just
Cy
looking
Young that
for
has-
ways to exploit the available talent for as cheap as possible, so you get more bang for your buck. That's what I'm
or for agents to say this dude did really good on Tuesdays. You should you play on Tuesdays more often than not. You should pay him a lot of money.
I think all this is a way of making unremarkable things sound remarkable.
No,
Well, when you're going to get into the minutia of ratings, like on TV, because you can't really gather mass amounts of people, you just say, "Oh, look at this demographic we're pleasing." Yeah, but you're only
tired of
pleasing
taking crap
500
on AEW?
people, Yeah, that was an AEW joke right
Get
there.
out of here, man. I just canceled my WWE Network subscription this week. After
How
watching
can you?
the last-
because you finally got Peacock.
No,
You get it for
because I
free if
watched
you go
the
to
latest.
Peacock.
that NXT issue where the guy started singing "I'm a sexy boy," and I was like, nope, this is the last
Don't
issue
watch
for me.
NXT.
That was so bad. I couldn't watch it anymore. But we do have Brian Rickard saying, could a Hail Mary like retconning X-Men back to Claremont and letting him finish his story even improve sales that much in today's market?
Nope.
Not really.
I'm sorry. I
He
like
would be
Claremont.
overworked because there need to be 8 X-Men books at the same time.
Claremont was an iron-fisted dictator back when he was great. And I think his last hurrah was pretty good on Uncanny X-Men, but you know, you have all that Extreme X-Men and the X-Men the End and just kind of some I don't think Claremont can do it, dude. Not anymore. Sorry.
I don't even think it's necessarily a Claremont thing. I think it's just like, you know, over the decades, publishers have segregated their audiences so much with this attitude of we need new audiences, and you have all these different phases of bringing in new audiences at the disrespect of previous audiences. So I think that's where your issue comes in. We've talked about this before, you know, but you shun so many people to bring in new people, and then it wasn't working. So then you tried to shun those people and bring in more new people. And now you've got like 3 audiences that are all different age groups wanting different things. And they just made a mess.
I think we should have writing like Claremont, though. You know,
Yeah.
I want
a
Purple
little
Prose
bit
come
more.
back.
Pardon me?
I want Purple Prose back.
Purple Prose, you don't have to do it all the time, but you don't have to have inner monologue all the time either.
I liked it as an introduction to a scene when it described how it feels.
Right. No, without a doubt. I mean, you don't, unless somebody says that chicken smells good, you don't know what it smells like in a comic book these days. But they're going to sit down and eat it anyway in front of you.
Absolutely. Talk about some feelings. All right, so we are winding down our time. We were going to talk about that Iron Fist stuff. We kind of covered that already. We'll do the Spider-Man leaks as far as the movies, because that's Fatal J's specialty. Then we'll talk about some comic book recommendations.
All right.
So obviously there was the big leaks from Jon Campea. There's been a lot of negativity regarding the MCU and the Eternals specifically. Probably the longest period of sustained negative coverage as far as the MCU goes. What do you think, Fatal J? Were these images of these spoilers with the 3 Spider-Man standing together, and obviously Charlie Cox from the Netflix Daredevil sitting with Peter Parker at the table, were they leaked on purpose to get people to stop talking about Eternals and it being the lowest rated MCU film ever?
Well, first off, I'm like Chuck Dixon. I don't give a crap about Tom Holland.
All you talk about is comic book movies. What are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying Tom Holland as Spider-Man Peter Parker, he sucks to me. I don't give a crap about that dude. I don't understand what's the hype. Well, the hype is more there for Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Now, the leaks that came out, Jon Kent leaked. Do I think those real? I don't think those are legit. It just looks fishy to me.
I've already seen it from 3 different angles with
So
Charlie
you think
Cox
it's real?
at that table. It's already been proven that it's real.
Oh,
There are
okay,
there are other scenes from previous trailers in that room with stuff at the exact same locations.
Oh, okay.
From
Well, shout
different
out to Charlie Cox being in there since it's real. That Daredevil series, that Netflix series, perfection. I'm like Magneto, perfection. Just the violence, and I if Charlie Cox kill it in this, then I'm interested to see if they're going to come out with another rated R Daredevil series. I don't know how that's going to work with Disney Plus because they're on that, kitty good stuff. But if that you said that picture is real, so that's cool because I'm an Andrew Garfield fan, Amazing Spider-Man fan. I want to see more.
I don't know about that one. The other one has been proven real because there's been scenes in that room.
Okay, so the one where he on that bar like this, that's not real.
So look, I think when you break it down, when you have leaks like this, one of your telltale signs is when the studio starts taking it down and making copyright claims. So they contacted Jon Campea directly and were like, "What are you doing?" So if they're gonna do that, there's got to be some truth to this.
That happened to me. I was on Reddit, the new Flashpoint movie. I was on Reddit. I made a video. The video went viral. You know what Warner DC did to me? They struck my channel. Thank God that my channel just got the strike taken off. But you're right about that. If it's legit, the big boy is coming for you.
Oh no,
They're coming for you.
forget just the strike. Like they contacted him to say,
Wow.
"What are you doing?" And he was trying to explain, like because at the time he thought they were photoshopped, and that's why he pushed them out.
Yeah,
And they were pressing like, are like, come on, you should know better than this. You've been doing this for a long time. You should know better than this. In the same respect, I also want to say, like, I haven't fully understood.
Do you think they didn't? He's not in cahoots with the studio to get these pictures out there, so people will
I'm
stop talking about it.
sure. Well,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
gotta
I'm sure
be.
you do have instances of that, but it seems like they are trying their. I think they were trying their best to keep things under wrap, and unfortunately, Sony's been way worse at keeping spoilers a secret than Disney. But
Look here,
I
y'all.
think they've also realized they've gotten more and more and more people talking about this because it's like, are they or aren't they? So it's like. I'm wanting to say it was a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Comicbook.com openly announced like Charlie Cox cast as Daredevil for this movie, and it was a PA that was on set that confirmed yes he's filming here. They had another story that he came in and did reshoots again. So it's not like it's new news. There was a quote unquote official news, not official from the studio, but official news that had come out forever ago. And now you've got this. But I think Sony realized this hype of are they or aren't they, what's really going to happen, they can play into. So yeah, I think it's 50-50. They know they can get something
Josh.
out of this.
Let's just be real. Let's pump our brakes and just rewind for a little bit. We're talking about Jon Campea, the shields of all shields. So I'm thinking like Wes now. That's probably was planned for him to put those pictures out like that. How did he get that? How did he? Marvel gave him that. And make it look
there are ways of getting it. If you want to get it, there are ways of getting it. Maybe I look when you're having conversations of your press passes getting revoked for studios, like
Josh, you just said it though. This is promoting because this is the thing. We already know they're going to be in the film. Now we're going back and forth. Are they or aren't they? Well, we got to see. That's the promotion. That's the promotion.
You're laughing. Jump on in, Yul.
No, I have nothing to say. This
He doesn't
is just
watch the movie.
hilarious.
That's the question. Are they or aren't
This is
they?
the question. Actually, this is the statement, Fatal J. Max Santiago's got a good point. If it sucks, Jay is a fan of it.
What about Eternals? You spoke on Eternals. Did anybody see Eternals?
Fuck Eternals. Who cares?
Okay, so it sucks. Everybody say
I don't know.
I don't know.
It looked like it was
I'm not
going to
gonna watch
suck,
it.
so I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either.
I'm done.
Look,
I'm done with this stuff. You got to do something I care about, and Eternals ain't it. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, Eternals.
Chuck, did
Sorry.
you get to watch that second season of Daredevil on Netflix? Did you get to see that Punisher? What did you think about that?
No,
Oh,
didn't
it's so
watch it.
good.
Mr.
It
Disson,
was
please,
good, but I didn't watch
Mr.
it.
Disson, please do yourself a favor and
So
watch
much
that.
better than Dolph Lundgren.
It's good.
That was rough. You remember Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher?
Better than Thomas Jane. About the same as Ray Stevenson.
Yeah, that was the best Punisher movie. That one that no one watched, where he's just killing everybody.
Warzone. Yeah, that one was actually pretty dope.
I put the Netflix Punisher over even that guy, the Warzone. It's that good. It's good. Check it out.
All right. Well, but
Remember, Chuck,
regardless,
everything Fatal J likes sucks. So fire.
They hate everything I like. That's true.
Yeah.
What do you think, Doc? Are these Spider-Man movie leaks real? Do you think it was planted on purpose?
oh wait, we're talking about movies. Oh fuck.
Yeah. Remember that thing that I sent you that was the notes for the entire show?
Yeah, I do, and that's the one
I saw
couldn't
Chuck
really bring
Dixon was going to be on.
myself
I just forgot them altogether.
Yeah,
that's the one I couldn't really bring myself to give any fucks about at all. No, but you know what? Honestly, no, I looked at them seriously. I'm betting that they're real. I feel like it would be just way too much work to fake this kind of shit, even for dumb bored nerds on the internet just looking to Photoshop shit. Like, I'm betting that it's real. Look, we already kind of have an idea that they've been talking about Charlie Cox being in Spider-Man 3 for like since the Netflix series end. Like, when are we going to bring Charlie Cox into it? And then it's been every other movie since. Every movie that's like even remotely street level has been like, oh, this is the one we're bringing in Charlie Cox. Oh, this is the one we're bringing in Charlie Cox. Daredevil.
No. So there was the only time they've had talks of Netflix characters coming into the movies was Infinity War, and Marcus and McFeely actually commented they had a draft of Infinity War where they had written in Luke Cage. After that, when the shows got canceled, Marvel could not use those characters for I think it was a year or 2 years. So they had a timeline, and the question was when would they come back in? The only time it's been referenced he's coming back was with this movie, and then you had the casting announcement come out from comicbook.com.
But I see what Doc means.
There was I think there was wishful thinking. The other thing I'm going to say about this too is Tom Holland actually gave an interview where he was talking about this scene in particular. And he was talking about how we filmed a scene that goes into a lot of depth about what it means to be a hero and the sacrifices you make. And he was talking about how there's multiple characters sitting around a table talking. And he goes, it's me, Aunt May, Happy, and another character I cannot reveal. Fast forward 4 months, and we get this picture. And what people are trying to say that it's fake is like, no, that's MJ sitting there, and they Photoshop Charlie Cox in. Well, if that were the case, why wouldn't they just announce that it's MJ 4 or 5 months ago? Or this is a real
maybe it is actually MJ, and we're getting actual MJ, and the Michelle that's been there for a while gets to go away.
I don't think that's what's happening. We do have Federico de la Casa. As far as Campea goes, some things are arranged, but sometimes chaos happens. Leaks happen, shit happens. Not everything is always arranged. I know, it just felt like the timing. You know, all of a sudden everyone's talking about how shitty the MCU is. Boom, we're seeing like these 4 big reveals that everyone's been talking about for a year.
And how far out is the next Spider-Man movie to be released?
It's the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is about the time to leak a story. Just like 3 months before every James Bond movie comes out. Oh, James Bond's going to quit smoking. James Bond's going to get a dog. You know,
James Bond's a woman.
Just to get people.
Mr. Dixon, I noticed that too. Like right before the Super Bowl happens, is some kind of controversy that always happens to hype up the Super Bowl. Watch the next Super Bowl. Watch what I tell you. It's going to be some type of controversy to make it all big and hyped up.
Agreed. My point is, with this movie in particular, they've been having leaks since the very beginning. And it's like you had Alfred Molina was the first one that was like, oh yeah, I was filming Spider-Man, blah, 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 blah. And like, it was like, what is going on? And that was over a year ago. Jamie Foxx posted something on Instagram and then had to take it down. And this was way, way, way in advance. Like timing wise now, absolutely. But I think it's a thing where, and this is what my point was earlier, Sony could not control it and had an oh shit moment, and we're trying to cover the bases, and then realized all of this is built so much hype anyways, let's just play into it. But whether or not Jon Kent was working with them or not, I'm going to say no.
There you go. We got Dark Apple March here. And the reason I'm putting this up is normally this would get you banned from the channel, saying that you were Fatal J. But because Dark Apple March here has essentially been with the channel since I had 40 subscribers, I'm going to forgive you, sir. I'm going to pretend I didn't see it. We got Kenneth Dalley. Just wanted to say I am beyond excited Disney Plus is reviving the 90s X-Men cartoon with the original cast. Hell yes. Maybe best superhero cartoon ever. Doc, we forgot to talk about this in This Week in X-Men. Are you excited about it?
Wow.
You know what? I would be if it wasn't 2021. Because no. I mean, because look, we're going to get, Batman 89 bullshit stuck into a X-Men 96 cartoon.
But Superman 78 is perfect.
I understand, but I'm thinking that's more the exception than the rule. No, we're going to get a bunch of bullshit current year weirdo, social commentary out of this fucking cartoon, and it's going to retroactively ruin the best cartoon. So we'll have to. It'll be like Indiana Jones, where we say, no, the 3 Indiana Jones movies. There's not a 4th one, or there's only like 3 Star Wars movies. There's not 6 other ones. There's 3.
I don't know, Josh. He just said that X-Men cartoon was better than Batman in the animated series. You're gonna stand by and take that?
I was biting my tongue. I love the
Cringe.
X-Men cartoons.
It's close.
They are close.
I love
I
the
still
X-Men
think
cartoons
TMNT
for a
is better,
nostalgic reason, but the Batman the
animation's
animated
so
series,
horrible.
yeah, Batman the animated series is written on just a higher level. X-Men cartoon note though, I'm trying to remember what documentary it is, but it's either documentary or interview. That I love that cartoon because there's so many like cameos in there. Yeah. I would say half of those cameos they couldn't actually refer to the characters' names because they couldn't afford it. So there's a really good thing about how they like generically wrote in like, oh, a character that looks like this and has this type of costume and has these
Batman?
powers. No, X-Men. And they're like, but it's not. And they're like, but it's not Sunfire. And then it's Sunfire. So
because look, I mean, Batman 89 has some of the writing staff and everything and production people that were involved in the original ones, and we're getting current year woke bullshit in it. Mm-hmm. So just because it's the original production team and the original creative team doesn't mean it's prevented or insulated in any way from being just completely overrun with current year nonsense.
Very true. We got Hendrix in here. Great conversation all, but Mr. Dixon, have you read Peter Tomasi's supersets?
No.
If there's something new that's worth reading, that's one of them. I'll give him that.
I got a quick question for Mr. Dixon. I was a huge fan of cross-gen comics. Is it true that the guy that was over cross-gen comics, he was a maniac?
No. He was a type A personality for sure, but Mark was a great guy. I spent a lot of time with Mark in the months just before he died. And I didn't even know he passed. I didn't know. He passed away.
Okay.
I think was that Mark Alisi?
Huh?
Was that Mark Alisi?
Yeah, Mark Alisi. Yeah. And we saw each other like once or twice a week there for months before he passed away. But he which was sudden. I wasn't hanging out with him because he was ill. He was fine the last time I saw him. But no, he wasn't a maniac. He was just. He gets this bad rep. It's like, oh, he yelled at people. Everybody yelled at people in comics. They yell at people at DC and Marvel. Trust me, there's a lot of yelling going on. And he wanted it his way or
how he set up his company. Sorry, I always thought how he set up cross-gen, but I always thought the way he set up cross-gen was kind of smart. Like you guys was on payroll, right?
We were on payroll and we were all in the same facility.
Yes, sir.
So, and it was expensive. It was an expensive way to set up a comic company, and he spent money like water.
Yeah,
probably the reason why it didn't really. I mean, if he could have hit the sales to make it work.
Yeah, well, if we could have gotten a movie deal, one movie deal would have. We'd still be around today, but we kept getting so close, and just nobody would bite the bullet. I mean, there were 3 screenplays written, 3 versions of a screenplay for Way of the Rat, and it was set up with screenplays. But Spielberg wouldn't even look at it, so we couldn't get okayed. The other 2 guys okayed it.
Nice. We also got Kent Dowling. Doc, he says the same production team are involved. Doc,
hey, look,
you already answered that.
Can you just imagine what even that same production team, what we're going to get with Iceman? What are they going to do with Iceman from 90s X-Men done today? Just answer that question.
He's going to run in from the... Oh, sorry. I was going to make an Iceman joke. Go ahead.
He said, make your joke.
Oh, I was going to say Iceman's going to run in the background and be like, hey, bitch. And then run out and be like, bye, bitch.
That's what he does in comic books. I'm fabulous. And then he leaves. We got King KDI says 90s X-Men Nightcrawler will say it tastes like mustard and bigotry. Think of what writers will that they will have.
I don't trust them until they prove that they can actually do a continuation and not just a ruination of the 90s version. I'm going to remain skeptical. I want to like it.
He's what is it? It's Scully and X-Files. I want to believe
that they can not fuck it up. I just don't have any faith that they won't fuck it up.
there.
I think Ruination would make a great crossover. That's a great name for a crossover. Ruination. Just
You're
end it
welcome. Use it.
So
That's
we
have
are-
an X in it though.
We are about to wind this down, fellas. I do want to say thank you for everyone for supporting the channel. We ended up getting up to 190 likes. That's pretty good. If we could get over 200, that would be amazing. But definitely appreciate the support. Definitely appreciate the panel, specifically Chuck, for coming on here. Chuck, obviously, a lot of people had questions for you. Do you have any final words before we start maybe recommending some comic books and wrapping this bad boy up?
No, just if everybody could go check out Archaven, archaven.com, check out ArcTunes. It's free. Trust me, you're going to find something there you like, and you're going to want to follow every week.
Absolutely. Whoa, Kenneth Dowling. Josh, great point on Batman the Animated Series. This 90s X-Men, 90s Spider-Man, and 80s Transformers are my favorite superhero cartoons.
I'd also
There's some
add
Golden Age
80s.
cartoons there, Fatal J.
Oh man, I love all those shows. They shaped my life. I love them all. I even like the Transformer movie, even though they killed Optimus Prime in the beginning.
It's
Even
also
though,
missing. He's
especially because
he's also
and the
missing
curse word.
Batman Beyond
Yeah.
and 80s GI Joe.
TMNT.
Yeah.
Thundercats. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
There was.
We've got Hendrix, who's recommended anything written by Chuck Dixon. That sounds like a good
A lot of
recommendation to me.
books.
Thank you.
Makes sense. So let's get into comic book recommendations. I don't know, Chuck, have you read anything lately that you're like, people need to read this comic book?
Well, I'm reading Warfront. It's from 1953. If you hurry, there might still be a couple on the
That's a nice looking copy too.
It's okay. It looks good on video. It's a bit neat,
Mhm.
but so that's my recommendation.
Warfront.
Just all of them? If you can get your hand on some Warfront comics, that's where it's at.
Yeah, Warfront. I love war comics. What can I tell you? I love war.
I have a
Very
GI
nice.
Combat. Is that any good?
Yeah, GI Combat. Russ
Yeah, I
Heath.
got a lot of those at the store.
Russ Heath's Russ Heath's probably my favorite comic book artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you worked with him?
Oh yeah. We worked together a few times. He always pretended he didn't remember me, but we worked on Moon Knight. I wrote his last Haunted Tank story.
Ooh, cool.
So
All right, Fatal J, are you recommending any comic books this week besides Ninja Blast?
Believe it or not, I am rereading Jim Lee's Wildcats and having a great time reading that. I don't know why I'm rereading it, but I don't know. I like Grifter, and I know Mr. Dixon, he wrote Grifter and Midnighter. That's a great comedy in itself. Also, this month, Ninja Blast will be shipped out to everybody. Please check that out. And when it's shipped out to everybody, I'm closing Ninja Blast on Indiegogo, and I'm going to begin writing Ninja Blast 2. Thank you, everybody, for supporting.
Doc, Jamie Anderson has a point. He says, isn't Batman Beyond a legacy character?
He has a good point. This is the exception that I make for legacy characters.
Oh.
When the original character is so obviously too old and incapacitated and will never be able to carry that torch again, I can sort of tolerate it, but I still think that for the most part, I don't like legacy characters because I think it is inherently an egotistical profession to become a superhero, and the last thing an egotist would do is wear the costume of somebody else and live in their.
All right, Doc. Great psychoanalysis. Jasper Plan 9 has a good point. Mr. Dixon's former partner in crime, I imagine they still talk every once in a while, if not every day. Graham Nolan's Alien Alamo on Indiegogo ends November 19th. So if you want to support that, go over to Indiegogo.com.
that's good stuff.
Absolutely. Drew from Comics Elite. Go to Chuck's eBay page. You may have a chance to win a Moon Knight #1 with the sketch by Chuck if you get as lucky as me. Holy crap. It sounds like he won that sketch.
Well, thank you, Drew.
Very nice. Kenneth Dowling, great panel, guys. Chuck, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and sharing your stories. Abundant knowledge. Look forward to seeing you again.
Will do.
Very good. And I think that's it. What are you recommending down at Fantastic Comics School? Anything good this week?
Yeah, actually. Firstly, I wanted to say this is in reference to the guy who was talking about hiring Chuck. I'm going to talk about a back issue that you might not know that he did. And not really well known for it. You wrote issues of The Simpsons, am I correct?
Yes.
Chuck Dixon. And they're actually the funnier ones. Just to let you know. So he doesn't just do guns, if you can believe it. He can do a funny Simpsons also.
I never specialized.
Pardon me?
I never specialized.
Yeah, I mean,
you got pigeonholed. It wasn't because you wanted it.
That's it.
Wow. And then this week, The Thing by Walter Mosley, who is an outsider coming into comics. He's written a lot of novels, and he is a big Fantastic Four fan. The art by Ben Reilly is kind of like pop art, like back in the 60s. And I think it really works because the emotion that you get from The Thing, because he's really, he's having a bad first issue, is really conveyed well. And I really liked what I saw, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the series.
Wait, why is the Spider clone drawing a Thing comic?
Ben,
same
maybe I'm wrong about Ben. It's something Riley.
Okay.
REI. I don't know. Yeah, something like that. I'll look.
Give me 1 second. I'll get the name of that artist. But we do have
Riley Brown.
Riley Brown. Maybe that's what it was.
I think you are correct. We got Great Stone Planet says, I got Expendables Go to Hell last week, and it was ridiculous fun read. Love Gunner's Journey.
Thank you.
Would have been Mr. Dixon as the writer. Congratulations on that. Josh, what do you recommend? Any good comic books for you this week?
I mean, my schedule's been crazy, so I've been in this little Batman bubble. But Robin and Batman by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen was actually a pretty solid book, and I'm loving Batman the Imposter because I feel like Mattson Tomlin is actually a quality writer, and we don't have a lot of those. Don't like what he's doing with Alfred, but I like just the language and the way he approaches stories. Other than that, we keep saying, Chuck Dixon books. I've got a ton back here behind me, and we talk about, the big two, but I kind of wanted to ask Chuck, just as a writer, one of the things I like to get asked is, what is a book that you're the most proud of? Because it's something that usually means the most to you. And then if you had to recommend a book of like, here's an idea of me, what would you recommend? Because maybe that might give readers something to pick up.
There's an issue of the NOM 66. It's a story I wrote all in one sitting, which is rare. It just all came to me. I had the beginning, middle, and end all came to me all at once. And I think it's a pretty effective story, and it's a very different story. Because, like I said, I like war comics. War and Western comics are my favorite to write, and that was a career highlight for me, pretty early on.
Awesome,
Mr. Dixon. Can I ask one more question, and then I'm gonna shut up? This is what I always wondered, especially from a professional writer like yourself. How do you write? Do you write all in one setting, or do you do like a script, or how do you write, sir?
Well, basically, I'm writing all the time. No matter what I'm doing, I'm a million miles away. Anybody who's around me can tell you that's true. But the actual sitting and writing, I write full script, and actual writing, I'm maybe at it like 6 hours a day, but with breaks and stuff. But there's a lot of reading involved, and these days there's a lot of gathering of visual reference that I put into the script, stuff like that. So it's kind of an organic process with me. But I used to average 8 pages a day. I average about 5 pages now.
Very nice.
Have you ever gotten to a situation like it is at Marvel and DC a lot these days, where an artist comes on for like 3 to 6 issues and is gone, and then there's another artist and then another artist? Have you ever had to deal with that like it is these days?
Sometimes you'd run in, where they keep changing artists, but when I was at DC, Marvel, they never planned for anything. But at DC, they would plan for that. And I would write an inventory issue, a 13th issue of every book every year that would already be in the drawer, completely drawn by a different artist. Wow. The funny thing is that when I was on Nightwing, Scott McDaniel drew his own inventory issues. He never missed
Scott was always quick.
Oh, God, Scott's amazing. What a dedicated dude. Well, a lot of guys are dedicated, but Scott's like meta dedicated.
How does that change your approach as a writer when you know that you can really depend on an artist to get that stuff done all the time?
Oh, it's tremendous when you've got a guy working with you, and you know his artwork and you're familiar with it, and you know his strengths, and you can write to them. I always picture the pages in my head, just so I know how much real estate I have for word balloons and stuff like that. They never turn out the way I picture them, but I've got a general idea what that page is going to look like. And when you know who the artist is going to be, it's a huge weight off your shoulders. When you don't know who the artist is going to be, you kind of have to explain everything and describe everything because you don't know what they're going to pick up and what they're not.
Right.
So
cool.
All right, Josh, you recommended The Imposter. Are you under the same impression that I am, that the imposter Batman killer is actually Bruce Wayne himself, but he has multiple personalities now because he was abandoned by Alfred?
It could be. I don't think it is, because I think they've set up in some aspects that they've been in different locations at the same time. It could be. We'll have to wait and see.
Right.
If they do, I'm not gonna like that take.
I think that's what's happening. We got Roddy Boy Comics with the 50 peso super chat. I really enjoyed the show. Thanks, and stay safe. Well, thank you very much, Roddy Boy. Really appreciate that. Doc, what are you recommending? I know what you're recommending. We already talked about it.
Yeah, I am recommending Hellions.
Really good.
Number 17. I am recommending, since Chuck is on, and I get to recommend some of my favorite shit ever, Wildstorm stuff. So I'm going to recommend, I don't know if they were ever collected it, the Grifter Midnighter miniseries, and the Team 7 trilogy, all 3 series, plus, if you can find it, Team 1, which is also really cool.
Those Death Blows are good too. Those Death Blow comics, the volume 1, I'm reading those too. Those are good too from Wildstorm.
Oh yeah, they're definitely great. I was just going with stuff that Chuck did.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And here's, I think I shared a picture. That's the preliminary cover from the original from Grifter Midnighter #1 before the one that ended up published.
Cool.
That was
Ryan
Ryan Benjamin's art. Yeah, it's slightly different than the final version, but the same theme was used for the design for the final cover. So
can I borrow that?
No. It's original art. It's hanging in my nerd room, dude.
Okay.
But look at his wall. It's so blank back there. It needs something, Doc.
All right, Josh, this is what Drew from Comics Lead said. It's either Bruce or the female cock he actually has the hots for. I think he's right.
Yeah, that or they're going to try to throw some twist in. Yeah, we'll see.
It's only 3 issues, man. We've been through 2.
I know.
There you go. All right, is that I think Doc's got my recommendations this week. This was actually a really good comic book week as far as the current landscape. I'm recommending Justice League Last Ride #8. I thought that ended up being a really good series. It's going to be probably read better in the trade. Sumerian Beyond the Black River. If you have been reading the Ablaze Sumerian comics, I think those are fantastic. They are not skipping out on the artist, are they, Yule? They are paying top dollar for artists.
Yeah, they're almost all European, and
they're fantastic.
It's just great, and it feels like when Dark Horse got Conan, and they really cared in the beginning. That's what it felt like.
What is this called again, guys?
Cimmerian, because they can't say Conan.
Oh, gotcha.
And in the back of each issue are enough pages to where when you finish the series, you'll get all of the Robert E. Howard original writing also.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool.
And they're doing them like 2 and 3 issue like story arcs.
Yeah.
So
each miniseries is unto itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, really all great. Yeah.
You like Conan.
What company is this?
It's Ablaze. So what I've been doing, I've been going and I get the Ablaze comic, and I get the Robert E. Howard story, and then I get whatever representation Marvel did from Savage Sword or the Conan series. And then I get the Dark Horse one, and I compare them all.
Okay.
Takes a while.
Yeah.
It's worth it. And then finally, absolutely go and check out any of the work that Chuck Dixon did on Dick Grayson, whether it be Robin or Nightwing. It's the character defining work that you're going to find of one of my favorite characters in the absolute or any of the comic universes. Absolutely love that. Want to say thank you once again to Chuck Dixon and everyone that joined us today. Had a fantastic stream. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and happy Veterans Day to all the veterans. Obviously, we're a couple of days late on that one, and I really enjoyed this.
And wash your ass.